Chapter 1409. The demonic chi spread out. At that moment, everyone who wasn't a half-saint was stunned. Their eyes were filled with a sense of evil. Not good. Zen Master Tian Yin's face was ashen. It's the demonic chi of the godly fox. It turned these people into puppets. Without waiting for Zen Master Heaven's note to make a move, the elites from the various countries all jumped down the 100-meter-tall demon ceiling hill as if they were on drugs. Normally, 100 meters wouldn't be a problem for these elites. But at this moment, it became the gap between life and death. Bang, bang, bang. Like dumplings, they all fell to their deaths on the demon ceiling hill. Blood instantly dyed the hill red. It was like a blood-red flower had bloomed. It was beautiful and evil. Damn it! Hong Mei couldn't help but curse. Tian Yin, it's all because of you, you piece of trash. You sent these pieces of trash and let them use their blood to pave the way for the fox monster. Abel and Elizabeth were also dumbfounded. The two of them stood on the cliff, trembling. Under the suppression of the demonic chi, even standing seemed to be a little difficult. At this moment, they finally understood how scary this nine-tailed godly fox was. No, what nine-tailed godly fox? Looking at the bloody scene in front of them, they all thought that this was a fox monster. She would kill everyone. Everyone, this can't go on. Li Fan frowned as he watched those people still jumping into the valley one after another. Wife, calm them down. There were still 20 people left. Although Li Fan didn't care about their lives, their deaths could strengthen the nine-tailed godly fox. It would be better if such a terrifying and passionate vixen didn't become stronger. Okay. With that, Muronging suddenly turned into a beam of red light and swept past the remaining people. At the same time, her finger pressed on the acupuncture points of those people. Under Murong Ying's modification, this move now had the effect of a real acupuncture point. Those whose acupuncture points were poked by Murong Ying would have their blood vessels sealed by Murong Ying's powerful yin qi. They would not be able to break through for a while and could only stand there in a daze, unable to move. Almost in the blink of an eye, Murong Ying had sealed the acupoints of these 20 people and fixed their bodies. Well done. Li Fan gave a thumbs up and praised his wife. For Dianhe to be able to perform at such a level, even he couldn't do it. Murong Ying, on the other hand, had been immersed in martial arts for many years and had a very thorough understanding of the human body's acupuncture points, which was why she could achieve such an effect. In Jianghu, a master of internal martial arts was usually an acupoint master. If he didn't even understand the acupoints, he wouldn't be able to practice his internal strength. It was very simple. If he could not even open up his meridians with his inner force, how could he make his inner force form a major circulation path in his body? Different from these Westerners' methods of rapidly improving their strength, Eastern martial arts were gradual and profound. Although Li Fan's strength was already at the sage level, he believed that he was still lacking in the study of martial arts. Done. Murong Ying had already returned to Li Fan's side, as if she had never left. My wife is mighty and domineering. Cut it out. Look down. Murong Ying pointed. Li Fan looked down and his expression darkened. Although some people were saved, there were still dozens of people who jumped into the valley like the Suicide Squad and turned into flesh and blood. Not only did they stain the valley red, they also stained the huge demon suppression ring red. At this moment, more and more cracks appeared on the demon suppression ring. It seemed like it would shatter into pieces in the next second. Jin Yan and the rest's expressions became more and more ugly. Hong Mei couldn't help but curse. What about this year's 4 sages? Where did they go? Those trash, they must be afraid. Another dragon warrior roared, the previous generation's demon suppression ring caused the fall of all 4 sages. This year, I'm afraid the new 4 sages won't dare to come. 4 sages. Li Fan thought of the Azure Dragon successor he met in the past. They were so arrogant and brainless. If they were willing to sacrifice everything to help, then that would be crazy. She's coming out. Jin Yan's face turned red, even if we use all our strength, we can't let her have it easy. Everyone, use the demon suppression ring. Really? Huang Shan raised her head, her expression somewhat dazed. At this point, we can only do this. Jin Yan nodded. As long as we use the demon suppression ring to suppress her, we can find a chance to seal her again. If she doesn't escape from the demon sealing hill, we can still survive. Good. Then don't hesitate. Hong Mei was the first to take out a small jade ring from behind her. This jade ring seemed to be divided into several pieces, and she kept one piece in her hand. The demon suppression ring is our last resort. All the dragon warriors nodded. They stood up one after another, took out their own jade rings, and aimed at the center. As if attracted by something, the 8 jade bracelets suddenly flew up and joined together in midair, restoring themselves to their original state. And from this jade ring, a golden beam of light shot up into the sky. The originally dark clouds in the sky were directly blown away by this golden beam of light. In the next second, an even thicker beam of light fell down. With the 8 giant demon suppression swords as the boundary, it formed a transparent golden barrier that surrounded them. Everyone, as long as we are alive, this demon suppression ring formation will not be broken. As Jin Yan spoke, his body began to burn. Crimson flames wrapped around his body. Soon, when the flames dissipated, his body began to change. Jin Yan's body became more than 2 meters tall. A pair of golden dragon horns grew from his head, and his hands and feet were covered in dragon scales. A crimson spear appeared in his hand. Jin Yan's identity was the most special. Among the dragon race, other than the dragon race of the 4 seas, there was also the strongest royal race, the 5-clawed golden dragons. Jin Yan's body did not have the bloodline of a human. He was a hybrid of a royal and a member of the flame race, so he was thrown into this sealed land and imprisoned all day long. Jin Yan's pride, his ambition, all of it had dwindled in these thousands of years of suffering. But at this moment, he was betting everything he had. He was going to use the demon suppression ring to kill the 9-tailed divine fox, turn her into flesh and blood, and completely disappear from his life. At that moment, the day of liberation would come. Roar! And as he changed, the surrounding dragon warriors also turned into half-dragons. Even the unruly lowly, Hong Mei, had a pair of red dragon horns on her head and a pair of crimson sabers in her hands. The 8 true dragon energies revolved around the demon sealing hill as if immortals had descended, but in reality, it was the second coming of hell. Bang! In the next second, the golden red demon suppression ring finally cracked open. Chapter 14:10. The demon suppression hoop finally shattered. 9 gigantic white tails suddenly tore open the ground. The tails swelled with the wind, and each of them grew to a length of 100 meters. They flapped their tails and completely tore open the demon suppression hoop above their heads. And under the tails stood a gigantic white fox. The white fox's body was astonishing. When it lay there, it was at least 70 to 80 meters long, and its blood-red eyes were filled with hatred. She stood on the blood-red demon sealing hill, wagging her tail as she silently looked at the 8 dragon warriors around her. At this moment, powerful demonic energy erupted uncontrollably. Even Adam and Elizabeth were shaken to the ground. Looking at Zen Master Heaven's note, the 3 of them had joined forces and unleashed the golden bell shield, barely managing to block the demonic energy. Li Fan held his spring wave sword and held Murong Ying's hand. He stood on the cliff, his feet rooted to the ground, unmoving. Even if the ground beneath his feet crumbled, he didn't care. Some rocks flew to his side, but they were all shattered by his protective energy. 9-tailed demon fox, I will make you regret it. It was a mistake for you to come out. Jin Yan held his spear and jumped high into the air. He descended from the sky and slashed down toward the 9-tailed demon fox's head. And at this moment, one of the tails behind the 9-tailed demon fox suddenly transformed into a gigantic sword. It swung and knocked Jin Yan's spear away. At the same time, the other tail was wrapped in white frost and swept toward Jin Yan's body. Bam! Jin Yen was sent flying. The ninth heaven mystic ice on the tail happened to be the bane of his element, causing him a certain amount of damage. At the same time, her third tail brought with it blue lightning as it chased after Jin Yen. Eat this. Huang Shan was holding a blue ribbon in her hand. She swung her hand, and the ribbon flew out and wrapped around the lightning-covered tail, slowing the nine-tailed demon fox's movements. But she didn't know that the nine-tailed demon fox's fourth tail had already stabbed into the ground. Boom! The earth trembled, and the dragon warriors were all disrupted. Don't let her recover. Be careful of her 9 tails. Jin Yen raised his spear and charged toward the nine-tailed divine fox along with a few other dragon warriors. However, the earth tremored violently, and the other tails of the nine-tailed divine fox stood up and lashed out again. The dragon warriors panicked and fell into a disadvantageous position. Demonic fox. Don't be so arrogant. Jin Yen instructed the other dragon warriors, Green Leaf, head east. Xian Yi. North. Huang Shan. Due west. Red Plum Blossom, south. The few dragon warriors immediately leaped into the air. With a twist of their bodies, they actually transformed into 4 10-meter-long divine dragons in the air. They flew up and coiled around the 4 demon-suppressing swords in 4 directions. A powerful aura instantly converged upon the nine-tailed divine fox's body. The nine-tailed divine fox's body stiffened, and its 9 tails were also restricted. Its body felt as if it had become 100 times heavier. This is the 1,000 Caddies sealing demon. Jin Yen said loudly. It's the grand formation that we came up with over 1,000 years. With the help of the true dragon chi bestowed by the heavens, we will deal with a fox demon like you. Now that there's 100 times the gravity on you, let's see how you can still cause trouble. Hee hee. This grand formation is indeed powerful. The nine-tailed divine fox chuckled for a while before suddenly turning menacing. But it's no match for me. What an ugly struggle. Jin Yen scoffed. He picked up his spear and landed beside the nine-tailed divine fox. Then, he led the remaining 3 dragon warriors with their respective weapons and began to pummel the nine-tailed divine fox's body. If it wasn't for the nine-tailed divine fox's divine chi protecting her, Li Fan believed that she would have already been beaten to a pulp. However, even with the divine chi protecting her body, it was not limitless. Soon, the nine-tailed divine fox was forced to retreat. The golden light around her body also became dimmer and dimmer, as if it could be extinguished at any moment. Ha ha ha. Your time is up. Jin Yen laughed loudly. No one can save you now. You're seeking your own death by coming out of the seal. Is that so? Just when everyone thought that the nine-tailed divine fox was about to die, the latter raised her head calmly. Why don't you take a look and see if your grand formation is still there? What nonsense are you spouting? Before Jin Yen could finish speaking, the nine-tailed divine fox's tail that had turned into a sharp blade suddenly flew out from the side. It slammed into Jin Yen's sturdy body and sent him flying into the air. Everyone was shocked. This 15-kilogram devil seal had actually failed. They turned around and saw a terrifying scene. The fire dragon that Hong Mei had transformed into had already left its original position. Moreover, it had bitten Huang Shan's neck and forcefully torn her body apart. Hong Mei. What are you doing? Jin Yen was horrified when he saw this scene. Without Huang Shan, his demon sealing technique would be useless. The demon sealing technique could only be used by the dragon tribe of the 4 major tribes at the same time. Huang Shan was the only member of the water tribe here. The other 2 divine dragons immediately pounced towards Hong Mei, and Hong Mei immediately began to wrestle with them. The huge body of the dragon was not suitable for them to fight. However, at this moment, they unleashed their wildest instincts. It was as if they were using this opportunity to vent their thousands of years of oppression. Kill, kill, kill. As if infected by the rage of their companions, the remaining dragon warriors' eyes turned red and they began to wrestle with each other, killing each other. Stop, all of you stop. Jin Yan tried to dissuade them for a long time, but no one listened to him. In the end, he fell to his knees in despair. Jin Yan. The huge white divine fox's body suddenly curled up. In the blink of an eye, she had transformed into the beautiful woman in white from before. However, this woman was wearing a white fox fur coat, which made her even more seductive. She crossed her beautiful long legs and stood in front of Jin Yan just like that. Look, I think I'm the one who won in the end, hee, bastard. You cheated. Why would I need to cheat when I want to kill someone? Zhang Qing suddenly transformed into the jade-faced Rakshasa. He reached out and lifted Jin Yan's huge body. It was time that distorted me, and it distorted all of you. I only used a little trick, and that little girl was bewitched by me. Master, honorable master. Hong Mei suddenly transformed into a human and crawled over. She crawled beside Zhang Qing and kissed the back of her feet. My master, Hong Mei obeyed your orders. Please be merciful and save Hong Mei. Let Hong Mei escape from this damned hell. Scram! Zhang Qing kicked Hong Mei away, but the anger on her face instantly disappeared. She said coquettishly, Io, of course I won't forget your help. In this place, we are all cellmates. Chapter 14:11. Yes. Master, you are the real savior. Come and save this poor Hong Mei. Hong Mei crawls over and hugs Amorous' leg again. Great master, you will definitely bring me out of here. Hong Mei is willing to serve you for the rest of my life, even as your dog. How can there be such a cute dog? Amorous stretches out his hand and hooks Hong Mei's small chin. I want you to stay by my side, that is enough. However, I have a small problem now. Can you help me? Great master, if you need anything, just tell me. Hong Mei is willing to be your weapon. Hong Mei points at the dragon warriors who are fighting. Are you going to kill them? Hong Mei will go now. Trash. Idiot. Amorous kicks Hong Mei to the side again. I want to know how to take back this damned Qian Kun demon ring. Ha ha ha. Jin Yan, who was originally curled up at the side, suddenly laughs when he hears this. Demon Fox, I thought you were very powerful. But you still lost to me. Once this Qian Kun demon ring is released, within 49 days, it will turn all the gods in the array into ashes. What are you laughing at? I will not die, the one who will die will be you. Amorous says mockingly, one of my tales is the undying soul. Although I hate that woman, she indeed spoils me and helped me train this undying method. Although the Qian Kun demon ring is powerful, it can at most seal me for a few hundred years. After a few hundred years, my body will reform again and I will leave this place. As for you guys, you will only become bones here. Hong Mei is so scared that her face turns pale. She quickly crawls forward and hugs Amorous' leg, begging. Master, great master, you must save Hong Mei. Hong Mei does not want to die. Io, what are you afraid of? I naturally do not want you to die. Amorous squats down and affectionately caresses Hong Mei's pale face. So, you must tell me, where is the eye of this Qian Kun demon ring? Don't tell her. Jin Yan is shocked and quickly shouts, even if we die, we must make this woman accompany us in death. Shut up. Hong Mei suddenly appeared beside Jin Yan and directly slapped him on the face. Blood and teeth flew out of Jin Yan's mouth. You idiot, how dare you anger master? If you want to die, go ahead. Hong Mei doesn't want to die, Hong Mei wants to live. You're the idiot. Jin Yan wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. If she goes out, all of us will be killed. She won't leave a single person alive. Hong Mei is not a human. Hong Mei is a dragon. It is master's pet. Hong Mei said without hesitation, but you must die. Master hates you. Hong Mei hates you too. Crazy, he's really crazy. Jin Yan's eyes were filled with hatred. Nine-tailed demon fox, even if I die and turn into a vengeful spirit, I won't let you have an easy time. Ha, when have I ever taken you seriously? Following Hong Mei's instructions, the nine-tailed divine fox had already made his way over to one of the demon's sealing swords. He looked at the towering sword and gently placed his palm on its surface. "Soon, you will die. You damned demon fox. Stop it." Jin Yan's eyes were bloodshot, but the nine-tailed divine fox's hand was already glowing with a golden light. "It's too late, handsome mixed-blood brother." As he spoke, the power within his body exploded forth and flowed through his palm into the huge sword. The Qian Kun demon rings only eye was this huge sword. If he made a mistake and destroyed the other swords, then the formation would become even more powerful and the eye would disappear. Great glorious sun palm, army shattering. A unique golden sun inscription appeared on the sword. Bang! This gigantic demon-suppressing sword was directly broken into two. The broken pieces of the sword fell in all directions as the golden light dissipated. At this moment, the dragon warriors seemed to have awakened. All of them put aside their grudges and picked up their weapons at the same time as they charged toward the nine-tailed divine fox. Great glorious sun palm, extreme bliss. The nine-tailed divine fox smiled faintly as she pressed her palm down. Even Li Fan, who was far away on the cliff, felt a terrifying pressure bearing down on him. He couldn't help but look up at the sky. The clouds in the sky parted as a huge flaming palm crashed down onto the demon's sealing hill. Li Fan's eyes narrowed into slits. This woman's power was a little dangerous. Divine rank. Was this the power of divine rank? It was as if she could destroy the entire world with just a wave of her hand. Boom! The earth trembled once again, and the small island swayed along with it. The villagers outside were all livid. When they saw the flaming palm, they knew that doomsday was coming. The nine-tailed divine fox was finally born. The flames of her wrath would descend upon this world. This small island was only the beginning. When the flames dissipated, a huge palm print was left on the ground. The small hill had completely disappeared. It had been razed to the ground. Only black smoke rose from the crater left by the flaming palm print, proving that a terrible disaster had occurred here. Jin Yan and the others were all covered in dust. Some were kneeling on the ground, some were lying in the crater, and some had even been charred black. It was clear that the nine-tailed divine fox's attack had unleashed a terrifying destructive power. Even these saint-ranked dragon warriors were no match for her. This was the disparity between divine rank and holy rank. "Master, you are too great." Hong Mei was smiling happily despite the deaths of her companions. She was dressed in a red robe, and her eyes were filled with hope as she stood amidst the blood and flames. "Ah, Master, take Hong Mei away. I've had enough of this place. Ah, I think I can see the scenery outside. There are so many people and it's so lively. Don't worry, I'll take you away now." The nine-tailed divine fox made her way over to Hong Mei and looked into her eyes. Then, she suddenly raised a palm and slapped it onto the top of her head. Great glorious sun palm, soul-shattering palm. A wisp of soul flew out from Hong Mei's body before being pulverized. Hong Mei's soul had been destroyed. Hong Mei, tears of blood flowed from Jin Yan's eyes. There was nothing he could do. He could only slam his fist into the ground. Of the 8 dragon warriors, some were dead, and some were injured. He was the only one who was still conscious and talking. But soon, he would also die. Because once the nine-tailed divine fox left the demon sealing hill, they would suffer a backlash from the spell formation and die. "Who can stop me if I want to leave?" The nine-tailed divine fox had already stepped out of the demon sealing hill as she spoke. Jin Yan looked on with despair in his eyes. She had finally stepped out of the demon sealing hill. Jin Yan awaited his own death. Chapter 14:12. Jin Yan was waiting for his death. But even after a long time, he was still alive. What? Jin Yan looked at his hands and touched his cheeks. It hurt. His body was full of wounds. The pain reminded him of the fact that he was still alive. Why is this happening, you still don't understand. The nine-tailed divine fox stood there with a smile. I told you from the beginning that as long as I leave this place, you will be free. Too bad you didn't believe me. That's impossible. Jin Yen seemed to have lost the last of his vitality. He slumped to the ground, tears streaming down his cheeks and dripping onto the ground, mixing with the bloody mud. For so many years, the reason that had supported them in their struggle was actually a lie. What a joke, what a joke. They were too ridiculous. They had been fooled for so many years. Ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. Jin Yen laughed uproariously. He even walked over to the nine-tailed divine fox and pointed a finger at her. He laughed so hard that his back was bent over with laughter. The nine-tailed divine fox did not do anything. She crossed her arms and looked at Jin Yen. After laughing for a long time, Jin Yen suddenly picked up his spear and threw it into the air. Then, he pulled down in the air, and the spear was instantly pulled back by his strength. It suddenly fell, and like a bolt of lightning, it instantly pierced through his chest, nailing him to the ground. Sigh. Why? The nine-tailed divine fox sighed. I wanted to let you live. Her expression twisted again, and she spat out a murderous breath. I'll let you see with your own eyes how I destroy this world, ha 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 ha. Who else can stop this seat? Everyone will be destroyed. This world will be destroyed, and so will the sky above heaven. At this moment, she suddenly stopped laughing and looked at the people on the cliff. Abel and Elizabeth almost peed their pants. That woman looked at me. Oh no, I'm dead. Maybe I can taste human flesh today. What a heavy taste. Li Fan finally spoke. He looked down at the nine-tailed divine fox. Should I call you amorous or nine-tailed demon fox? I'm just sentimental. The nine-tailed divine fox shot a flirtatious glance at Li Fan. How could you forget about me, handsome? I'll kill you first. The nine-tailed divine fox cursed before slapping her palm toward Li Fan from afar. Glorious sun palm, illusion destruction. Li Fan's body suddenly leaned to the side. With a rumbling sound, one of the stupa of Heavenly Dragon Temple behind him was immediately smashed. What a terrifying palm technique. Li Fan couldn't help but praise. I'm afraid this palm has surpassed the speed of light, right? Li Fan couldn't move at the speed of light, but his perception and martial arts experience saved him. In the instant that the nine-tailed divine fox's shoulder trembled, Li Fan had already reflexively dodged to the side, causing the nine-tailed divine fox's palm to miss. Little handsome boy is awesome. The nine-tailed divine fox clapped his hands in elation. If Master were to find out that my great glorious sun palm didn't hit its target, he'd definitely punish me. You're a bit shameless. Li Fan sighed. This has already surpassed the scope of martial arts. Although it's called a palm technique, it's a true godly technique. That's right, that's right. Zhang Qing stood there and nodded happily. Where I come from, cultivators are divided into several sections. Among them, there's a body cultivator, and body cultivators are divided into martial arts and sword cultivators. I happen to be proficient in both. After saying this, Zhang Qing suddenly scolded. I'll take your life. She raised her hand and pointed, and a blood-red lightning bolt immediately fell from the sky. Almost at the same time, Li Fan also threw his spring wave sword above his head and then to the side. Kacha! The red lightning bolt was drawn to the side and directly smashed a demon-suppressing sword into powder. Aya, you even dodged the blood lightning bolt. Little handsome boy, you're really amazing. Didn't you say that you're a body cultivator? Body cultivators also know spells. Li Fan couldn't help but stare with his eyes wide open. Hee, I forgot to say that I also know a little bit of magic cultivation. After all, Master helped me refine 9 divine tales. Each tale has a great spell, a great divine ability. How about it, little handsome boy? Do you still want to try other moves? After saying that, Zhang Qing stretched out her hand and a huge demon-suppressing sword suddenly trembled. It was actually pulled out from the ground and flew into the sky. Small. Zhang Qing's hand clenched into a small fist. That demon-suppressing sword began to tremble and then quickly compressed. Very quickly, it turned into an ordinary long sword and fell into Zhang Qing's slender white hand. Foolish human, watch this seat's wine sword technique. She swung her hand and the long sword suddenly flew into the sky and started to spin. At the border of the Qin dynasty, the bright moon of the Han dynasty, the 10,000 li long march has yet to return. As soon as he finished speaking, the long sword seemed to have come to life and instantly flew toward Li Fan. Dragon subduing sword. Dragon lock divine weapon. 130% power. Although this sword is fast, it has not reached the level of light speed. The moment Zhang Qing made her move, Li Fan also caught her eyes. He made his move almost at the same time, his long sword flicked. Clang! Zhang Qing's long sword was actually flicked away by Li Fan just like that. He slanted the long sword towards the sky and then coldly looked at Zhang Qing below. Using immortal technique to bully my martial arts, isn't that a bit unfair? Great! This nine-tailed divine fox looked at Li Fan with her beautiful eyes full of affection. You are really great, making me very happy. Aya, you are too powerful. I am even a bit wet. I can't stand. After saying that, she actually gently sat on the ground and breathed out hot air. You seem to be even more powerful than him. Back then, he was not able to reach your level. What's more, you are not even a cultivator. Enough. Li Fan can't stand Zhang Qing's split personality. Stop playing. If you want to fight, then fight. Do you think I am afraid of you? Hee hee. I just can't bear to kill you. This seat just likes to tease the mouse. Zhang Qing said again and again. I want your love. This seat wants your life. You perverted woman. Li Fan summoned all of his internal force. In front of him is an almost undefeatable opponent. He must bring out all of his strength and even display his extraordinary level to have a chance to defeat her. I feel sorry for you. Hee hee, you want to fight this seat with just your mediocre martial arts? Zhang Qing looked at Li Fan with both heartache and ridicule. Chapter 14:13. Perhaps I won't be able to defeat you alone. Li Fan stood on the cliff with his spring wave sword aimed at the nine-tailed divine fox. But I'm not alone. As he spoke, Muronging suddenly flipped over and stepped onto Li Fan's shoulder. She also drew her sword and the two of them unleashed their martial arts at the same time. One cultivated primordial qi while the other cultivated yin qi. At this moment, their inner energies complemented each other and fused together, forming a special effect. In the air, an aura appeared behind the two of them at the same time. A dragon and a phoenix appeared behind the two of them. The roar of the dragon and the cry of the phoenix surprised the nine-tailed divine fox. Amitabha, Buddhist monk Tian Yin chanted the name of Buddha. He did not expect the two of them to have the power of a dragon and a phoenix when they joined forces. Looks like my evaluation of them is a little low. It appeared that the two of them had cultivated some kind of combination attack technique that could unleash the full power of both of them and was infinitely close to the nine-tailed divine fox's power. First form, dancing dragon and phoenix. The two of them spoke in unison. Immediately afterward, the two of them leaped into the air at the same time and drifted down from the cliff. One of them was surrounded by a red light while the other was surrounded by a blue light, and they instantly arrived beside the nine-tailed divine fox. Whoosh! Li Fan's spring wave sword appeared on the right of the nine-tailed divine fox with a frosty aura and suddenly stabbed forward. This sword was aimed directly at the nine-tailed divine fox's throat. The nine-tailed divine fox reflexively began to retreat. She retreated 7 or 8 steps in an attempt to evade Li Fan's sword. However, Li Fan's sword chased after the nine-tailed divine fox's body like a dragon hunting its prey. The sword stabbed forward continuously, aiming for the nine-tailed divine fox's throat every time. It was truly impossible to guard against. If the nine-tailed divine fox did not possess supernatural powers, her neck would have already been pierced by Li Fan's sword. However, Li Fan was not the only one who was in danger. Cold sweat suddenly appeared on the nine-tailed divine fox's forehead as Muronging had appeared behind her. The Muronging sword was imbued with a red light, and the powerful heat emanating from it was scorching the air and warping the surrounding environment. The nine-tailed divine fox was struck by the feeling that he was seeing illusions. Muronging raised her sword and stabbed toward the vital acupoint on the nine-tailed divine fox's back. Glorious sun palm, mountain mist. The nine-tailed divine fox suddenly slammed his left palm onto the ground, causing the ground to tremble as a massive sun rune lit up. In the next second, a powerful shockwave spread out from the ground, lifting Li Fan and Murong Ying's bodies. How much worry can a gentleman have? A river of spring water flows eastward. The nine-tailed divine fox pulled back the demon-suppressing sword with his right hand before sweeping it through the air. Suddenly, hundreds of swords appeared in the air and fell down, slashing at the two. Spread my wings. Meanwhile, Muronging suddenly returned to Li Fan's side. She then leaped high into the air and swung her long sword. In the blink of an eye, Muronging had stabbed no less than 100 times. The rain of swords was completely blocked by her alone. At the same time, Li Fan raised his long sword and slashed toward the nine-tailed divine fox. Parade! He pointed the tip of his sword at the nine-tailed divine fox. At the same time, a trail of white frost was left in the wake of Li Fan's movement technique. This was a clear indication of just how powerful the frost energy on his sword was. In the blink of an eye, Li Fan had already arrived before the nine-tailed divine fox. His long sword was still pointed at the nine-tailed divine fox's throat. Glorious sun palm, mountain mist. The nine-tailed divine fox lashed out with her left palm, and a wall of wind seemed to have appeared before her, blocking Li Fan's long sword with brute force. Looking back and smiling, all the beauties in the 6 palaces are colorless. At the same time, the nine-tailed divine fox grabbed the demon-suppressing sword with her right hand. Her body suddenly turned into a shadow and instantly swept past Li Fan's body. Puchi! The nine-tailed divine fox appeared behind Li Fan, and there was a deep wound on Li Fan's lower abdomen. It was unknown when the nine-tailed divine fox had cut open his abdomen. Hee, your swordsmanship is so powerful. The nine-tailed divine fox praised. However, in front of me, you are still trash. As she spoke, she held the demon-suppressing sword and turned to look at Muronging. Then, she swept her sword horizontally. Don't ask the 9 heavens, one sword will break through the 9 continents. The space seemed to have been cut open, and a straight line was cut open. However, Li Fan's figure reappeared beside Muronging. The two of them held their long swords at the same time and crossed them. The power of ice and fire interweaved and stimulated each other. They actually blocked the nine-tailed divine fox's wine sword technique. Darling, you are actually fine. The nine-tailed divine fox looked at Li Fan seriously and found that the wound on his lower abdomen had already healed. It was as if he had never been injured. Aya, your abnormal physique is more like our demon clan. I like you so much. Why don't you have a child with me? Our child will definitely be the strongest. You can be my servant. Why aren't you thanking me? Sorry, I am not interested in you. After saying that, Li Fan and Muronging looked at each other. The two of them held hands again and stood together. Second stance, vigorous dragon and phoenix dance. The power of the dragon and phoenix behind the two of them flew out again. The golden dragon and red phoenix intertwined in the air as if they were showing off their love. Divine sword. Li Fan and Muronging threw out their swords at the same time. The two swords fused with the power of the dragon and phoenix. In the next instant, the golden dragon and phoenix flew out. One was covered in frost, while the other was covered in flames. Both of them attacked the nine-tailed divine fox from the left and right. There is such a sword technique? The nine-tailed divine fox was very surprised. Impressive. Void dragon and fake phoenix. Don't even think of hurting me. She extended a palm and slapped it toward the dragon and phoenix. Great glorious sun palm, falling rain. A vast expanse of palm projections suddenly flew over and crashed into the dragon and phoenix. However, Li Fan and Murong also activated their inner power. The two of them joined forces, and their inner power complemented each other, increasing the power of their attacks. When the two of them joined forces, they were as powerful as 5 martial sages. Even though it wasn't all that astonishing, it really was very effective against the nine-tailed divine fox. They activated their inner power and infused it into their swords, making the dragon and phoenix even more powerful as they clashed with the nine-tailed divine fox's 10,000 palms. The two of them were connected, and their combined power was able to break through the nine-tailed divine fox's attacks. Aya, this isn't fun anymore. You two have angered me. The nine-tailed divine fox suddenly reverted to his massive true form, and all 9 of his tails swept toward the dragon and phoenix. The nine-tailed divine fox's tails possessed 9 powerful divine abilities. Now that its power was unleashed, it immediately suppressed the dragon and phoenix. My dear, your techniques are indeed exquisite. You were even able to summon my true form. I want you two to die a horrible death. Chapter 14:14. Although Li Fan and Murong Ying's yin-yang dragon and phoenix sword has some special power, they are still blocked by the nine-tailed divine fox's true body. If this goes on, they will definitely not be able to injure the nine-tailed divine fox. Darling, you have to work harder. I'm still waiting for you to bring more surprises. You two ants, struggle in vain. Your strength is not worth mentioning to this seat. The nine-tailed divine fox's 9 tails exerted force together, causing lightning and fire to burn. It was earth-shattering, causing the dragon and phoenix to retreat step by step. They were about to lose. Amitabha, Zen Master Tian Yin's face was gloomy. He and his 2 junior brothers sat down cross-legged, pressed their palms together, and began chanting Buddhist scriptures. At the same time, all the monks of Tian Yin Temple put down their work and sat on the praying mats, chanting Buddhist scriptures. In the sky above Tian Yin Temple, a golden Buddha vaguely appeared. This Buddha's light shone on the entire island. So sad, William curled up into a ball in Li Zheng's house. Righteous and demonic energy invaded him at the same time, making him feel extremely sad. He should not have come to this demon island, but no matter what, he was already here. He hoped that his strength would be able to help Boss. 2 young benefactors, I'll leave the lives of the world in your hands. Zen Master Tian Yin said slowly, all the monks in my temple offer their lives to the Buddha to bless the 2 of you with pure Buddhist power. As he spoke, the Buddha in the sky above Tian Yin Temple seemed to move. His gaze seemed to land on Li Fan and Murong Ying. In the blink of an eye, the 2 of them felt a majestic inner strength pouring into their bodies, enriching their strength, causing the dragon and phoenix they controlled to become even more ferocious. Zen Master Tian Yin, in this case, your life, Amitabha, only by seeing through life and death can one see the Buddha's heart. Zen Master Tian Yin did not have the slightest fear. He pressed his palms together and chanted along with the monks. The inner strength in their bodies surged into the sky as they chanted, condensing into the power of the Buddha. The Buddha then sent this power into Li Fan and Murong Ying's bodies. It was like a huge power bank that was charging the 2 of them from afar, replenishing the energy that they were rapidly losing. Since that's the case, I can't let you down. Li Fan's body also began to burn with a golden radiance. Together with Murong Ying's fiery red inner force, it was sent into the dragon and phoenix bodies that the 2 of them were activating. The power of the 2 swords increased, and the dragon and phoenix forms became clearer. The cries of dragons and phoenixes could be faintly heard in the sky, reverberating in the sky above the entire demon island. How pitiful. These baldies died just like that. Meddlesome bug. You're courting death. The 9-tailed divine fox raised his 9 tails in unison, and the power within all 9 tails flowed forth before condensing together in the air. 9-tailed godly thunder. With a cracking sound, a bolt of 9-colored lightning tore through the air, heading straight for Li Fan and the others. Be careful. Li Fan was shocked. The power of this lightning was most likely at the level of doomsday. He coiled his dragon into a ball and positioned it in front of the two of them. Murong-ying, on the other hand, waved her hand, and the phoenix flew away. It soared high into the sky and disappeared. Boom! The five-colored lightning struck the body of the golden dragon. In the blink of an eye, the golden dragon was shattered, and its body was broken into pieces. Meanwhile, the spring wave sword had also been broken into several pieces, which fell to the ground. My dear, your sword is broken. Just admit defeat. I don't want to kill you. My heart will ache for you. The nine-tailed divine fox tried to persuade her. Ha ha ha, how are you going to fight me without a weapon? Before the nine-tailed divine fox could finish speaking, the flaming phoenix in the sky suddenly leaped down. Before the nine-tailed divine fox could even react, the flaming phoenix pierced into her head. The flaming phoenix's body transformed into a violent blaze that continued to burn. Meanwhile, the autumn water sword was embedded in the nine-tailed divine fox's forehead. Compared to the nine-tailed divine fox's gargantuan body, this small sword was nothing. However, the power of the sword was enough to make the nine-tailed divine fox suffer a severe blow. Pfff. Even the nine-tailed divine fox couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Her entire body collapsed to the ground, and her eyes seemed to be a little unfocused. Well done. Li Fan gave Murong-ying a thumbs up. Although she couldn't kill the nine-tailed divine fox, she had severely wounded her, which gave the two of them hope. Ow! I'm in so much pain. My love, how could you let your little lover kill me? Are you going to ruin my love just like that? Bastard! Damn it! I'm going to crush you to pieces. The nine-tailed divine fox's eyes were bloodshot as she suddenly stood up again. The sword above her head had been reduced to scrap metal. The golden Buddha in the sky also slowly dissipated, and the inner power that the heavenly dragon temple monks had obtained with their lives was also completely exhausted. However, the nine-tailed divine fox was extremely furious. Her entire body was enveloped in red flames, but it was as if she had been reborn from the ashes. My love, I can't bear to leave you. I'm an undying divine fox. The flames slowly receded, and the nine-tailed divine fox reverted back to her fox-furred beauty form. She stood in the air and looked at Li Fan and Murong-ying. I'm very surprised that the two of you were able to do so much. My love, if you're willing to leave her and throw yourself into my arms, I'll be sure to serve you well. Trust my seduction skills. I know a lot of kung fu, and I guarantee that you'll be satisfied. I'm going to peel off your tendons and make you taste the most excruciating pain in this world. I'm going to make you beg for death. Ha 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 ha. Li Fan and Murong-ying exchanged a glance. This woman really was a freak. However, her strength was really troublesome. Since it's a matter of life and death, I can't hold back. As Li Fan spoke, he suddenly wrapped an arm around Murong-ying's waist and kissed her red lips heavily. Murong-ying's body stiffened slightly, and then she slowly moved away. At this moment, she was feeling Li Fan's naked violation, but she was willing to completely fuse with Li Fan. They were like water and milk, never to be separated again. If this moment could last forever, how good would it be? The world didn't need to stop, and time didn't need to stop. She didn't think about Murong's family, and Li Fan didn't think about the Seven Knights Villa. The two of them held hands and traveled together, an immortal couple, carefree and happy. This kiss caused their hearts to be inextricably linked together at this moment. Hee hee, you're really a passionate person. Even at this moment, you're still thinking about those things. You're making me so envious. Come here quickly, I'll let you taste true happiness. You two shameless things, I'm going to kill you right now, you fugitive lovebirds. Chapter 14-15. The kiss between Li Fan and Murong-ying was like a pledge of love. Their bodies and minds were infinitely close to each other. The nine-tailed divine fox was either jealous or disgusted, but she was very angry. She had the body of a human, but 9 white tails flew out from her back, and each tail was filled with powerful magic power and divine abilities. Dear, you might not know this, but in the spirit realm, power is determined by the tail. Every time you become stronger, an extra tail will grow out. I'm the strongest nine-tailed divine fox. You're no match for me. My skills will shock the world and shock the world. You adulterous couple, you're about to suffer. However, to be able to die in my hands is also a blessing that the two of you cultivated in your previous lives. However, the two were still kissing as if they didn't care about what the nine-tailed divine fox said. If that's the case, I'll have to take you away. Go to hell. With that, the nine-tailed lightning gathered again. This colorful lightning was very beautiful, but it was also very dangerous. The twisted lightning tore through the sky and reached in front of Li Fan and Murong Ying. Dong! Two long swords suddenly flew in front of Li Fan and Murong Ying, blocking the terrifying nine-tailed godly lightning. The nine-tailed lightning was blocked to the side by the long swords and struck the Sky Dragon Temple. A loud noise sounded, and the Sky Dragon Temple was directly pierced by the lightning. It was like a giant holding a giant sword and slashing the Sky Dragon Temple from the middle. So scary, they hugged each other and trembled under the nine-tailed divine fox's power. They didn't even dare to breathe. The heroic spirit from before had completely disappeared. Now, all he wanted was to preserve his life. It would be great if he could leave this island alive. Third stage, Dragon and Phoenix Prosperity. Li Fan and Murong Ying had already entered the final stage of the Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix Sword. To reach this stage, they had to be mentally connected. Although Li Fan and Murong Ying were husband and wife in name, they had always harbored different thoughts and had never put their hearts together. The two of them had lived together for so long, but they hadn't even chatted once. But at this moment, under the threat of the apocalypse, the two of them finally let go of everything and gave their hearts to each other. With this, the true essence of the Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix Sword was revealed. The two of them kissed passionately, not even opening their eyes. Their inner strength condensed into two long swords, a dragon sword and a phoenix sword. They were like real objects, vivid and lifelike. Li Fan alone would not be able to do this. It was all thanks to Murong Ying's ability to materialize the inner energy so clearly. Aya, it seems like you guys are a little stronger. Zhang Qing clasped his hands behind his back and stood in mid-air, looking at the kissing couple. It seems like you've only increased your cultivation base, but your power is still the same. The nine-tailed divine fox raised a palm as he spoke, slapping it toward them from afar. Great glorious sun palm, azure. Her palm strike had actually shattered the void. The space around Li Fan and Murong Ying shattered, and a black hole appeared, sucking in everything around it. Even their inner strength was being sucked away by the black hole. Although Li Fan and Murong Ying's cultivation bases were high, they were only at the martial arts level. Meanwhile, the nine-tailed divine fox was proficient in immortal spells and demonic techniques, so they were not on the same level. The fact that the two of them were able to do this was already an astonishing feat. However, there was no astonishing feat at this moment, only a suicidal attack. Otherwise, the entire world would be destroyed, and humans would become history. Hey, run! Otherwise, you're going to be torn to shreds by the black hole. Hee, let's go and die together. The nine-tailed divine fox could already see their fates. However, right at this moment, a figure appeared out of thin air. He grabbed a pair of swords before flying toward the black hole and stabbing it repeatedly. A powerful force was injected into the black hole from the swords, and the black hole was forcibly shattered. The space fell silent again, and the figure hovered in midair. Huh? Another Li Fan? No. This is a clone technique. He managed to refine such a powerful clone technique. The nine-tailed divine fox furrowed his brows as he looked at the figure in midair. Looks like this is the combined power of this adulterous couple. Little fox, you guessed correctly. This is the external incarnation that the two of us refined together. Li Fan slowly descended from the sky toward the nine-tailed divine fox. Let's not stand on ceremony. Come, let's get to know each other. This external incarnation contained almost all of the strength in their bodies. At the same time, the two of them were extremely feeble. If someone were to attack them now, even a normal child would be able to kill them. I can't help but come again. Ah, so stupid. Even if you manage to refine a powerful clone, what's the use? The nine-tailed divine fox was excited at first, but then he sneered, I am a god-level expert, and I have great power. Do you think your little martial arts can save me from this seat's trouble? Don't look down on us martial artists. Li Fan stood in front of the nine-tailed divine fox with his two swords in his hands. We've been training so hard for this moment. What? Man can conquer nature. With that, Li Fan kept stabbing his swords at the nine-tailed divine fox. He kept stabbing his swords with both hands, and his speed was twice as fast as before. At this moment, even lightning might not be as fast as Li Fan. The nine-tailed divine fox was shocked. She hurriedly used the wind sword technique, and the demon-suppressing sword floated in front of her, forming a barrier to block Li Fan's attack. Dang, 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 dang. Li Fan's thrusts were extremely fast, and golden sparks kept bursting out, exploding on the demon's ceiling hill. The powerful barrier protected Zhang Qing. She crossed her arms as she looked at Li Fan, who was constantly stabbing his swords. Little sweetheart, look at how tired you are. Your head is covered in sweat, my heart is aching. You want to destroy this Lord's barrier? Stop dreaming. You're just a puny human, a mere martial artist. How can you be mentioned in the same breath as me, a godly expert? You are not even worthy of carrying my shoes. Even if you attack for a year, you won't be able to shake this barrier. Puff. Under the nine-tailed divine fox's astonished gaze, Li Fan's shoulders pierced through the barrier and appeared in front of her. Great glorious sun palm, mountain mist. The nine-tailed divine fox quickly sent out a palm strike, slapping Li Fan's sword to the side. Even so, she could still clearly feel that the Grim Reaper just passed by her. Chapter 14:16. The Grim Reaper seemed to have just greeted her. The nine-tailed divine fox broke out in a cold sweat as she flew back a certain distance. She was forced to re-evaluate this different Li Fan. Darling, you really are very powerful. You're surprising me more and more. My heart is thumping furiously. Thank you for the compliment. Li Fan was not impressed. Let's continue our battle. Li Fan raised his dragon and phoenix swords as he spoke and began to attack the nine-tailed divine fox again. His attacks were extremely fast. Even in the eyes of the nine-tailed divine fox, all she could see was Li Fan's afterimages flashing through the air as he closed in on her again and again. However, the nine-tailed divine fox was an immortal rank cultivator. She was unable to defend herself, so she extended her 9 tails toward Enlin. The 9 huge white tails descended from the sky and landed in front of Li Fan. They stabbed into the ground and formed 9 huge walls that lined up in a row, blocking Li Fan's attack. Clang, clang, clang. Li Fan's dragon and phoenix swords struck the 9-tailed divine fox's tail, sending red sparks flying and inflicting a series of gashes on it. Darling, you won't be able to defeat me. My tail is protected by the indestructible golden body. Unless you have a divine weapon, you won't be able to hurt me. Brat, you think you can defeat me? You're dreaming. My 9 divine powers can be changed freely. Right now, my tail is the indestructible golden body, and it's even sturdier than diamond. How are you going to break through it? The 9-tailed divine fox was quite pleased with herself. Her 9 divine powers made her virtually invincible. Ha! However, Li Fan extended his hands, and the dragon and phoenix swords flew out of his hands. Under the control of Li Fan's inner power, they circled through the air before circling around the 9 tails and instantly arriving behind the 9-tailed divine fox's head. Great glorious sun palm, mountain mist. The 9-tailed divine fox's expression turned pale with fright. She hurriedly raised her hands in an attempt to block the 2 swords. However, she only had time to block the phoenix swords before the dragon sword sliced through her shoulder. Fish! Blood erupted from the nine-tailed divine fox's shoulder, and at the same time, half of her body was covered in frost. Darling, I'll be very sorry to see you like this. Look, my heart has turned cold. You actually injured me. I'm going to pinch you to death. A complex expression appeared on the nine-tailed divine fox's face. She didn't think that Li Fan would have the ability to injure her. She was the invincible divine fox. Even those bastards from the realm beyond Avalon couldn't do anything to her. Meanwhile, Li Fan had already taken advantage of this opportunity to circle around to the nine-tailed divine fox. At the same time, he wielded his dragon and phoenix swords with both hands and unleashed a relentless barrage of attacks. The nine-tailed divine fox was able to hold his own in the beginning, but he was soon forced into a disadvantageous position. He was being suppressed by Li Fan's dual swords, and he was forced into retreat. Little handsome boy, let's not fight, okay? Let me serve you well, okay? My tongue is very flexible. Damn it! Get out of my way. How is it possible for this seat to lose to a small character like you? The nine-tailed divine fox is very unresigned. She had just come out from the seal, and most of her strength was used to break the seal. Although she was suppressing Li Fan in the beginning, as the fight continued, a group of stinky monks helped Li Fan to charge up his strength. Right now, the nine-tailed divine fox's strength was almost exhausted, but Li Fan is still filled with fighting intent like a god of war who doesn't know exhaustion. Especially this sword technique of his, it is strange and savage. His speed and strength have almost reached the peak of martial techniques. The nine-tailed divine fox even believes that if this guy had learned an immortal cultivation technique and not a martial heart sutra, the current him should be so powerful that he can instantly kill me. Damn it, what am I thinking of? How can a mere human possess such powerful strength? Could it be that he is a genius like Lu Yi? Wrong. I had heard from Master that Lu Yi's talent is not high. In the end, he was able to become a cosmos god through a series of fortuitous encounters as well as bitter training in the Azura realm. How can this human in front of me be mentioned in the same breath as great god Lu Yi? But how could I lose to him? This is not logical. It should not be. Break for this seat. She roars as she revolves the strength in her body to the limit. She keeps punching out with her palms, trying to force Li Fan away. But Li Fan even closes his eyes and only relies on his perception of the surrounding chi to move around, dodging the attacks of the nine-tailed divine fox. At the same time, he stabs out with his swords again and again, aiming for the vitals of the nine-tailed divine fox. The acupoints of the nine-tailed divine fox are all within the attacking range of the swords. Very quickly, the nine-tailed divine fox is unable to take it anymore as the chi in her body starts to run out. Li Fan becomes more and more courageous as he fights. Finally, one of his swords pierces through the nine-tailed divine fox's palm while the other stabs into her throat. The nine-tailed divine fox stands there and with a plop, she kneels onto the ground as she looks at Li Fan in a daze. However, Li Fan knows that the nine-tailed divine fox isn't dead yet. There is an indestructible soul in one of her tails, so he most likely won't be able to kill her unless he finds some divine weapons. But when did he get his hands on a divine weapon? Hee. You still can't kill me. I am indestructible. The nine-tailed divine fox stands up again as golden light gathers around her body. This is divine light, and it symbolizes her power. I am indeed a little weak now. Big brother, can you let me go? I can't keep up with you anymore. What can you do without a divine weapon? Once I recover my power, I'll make you wish you were dead. The nine-tailed divine fox continues to maintain her schizophrenic character. A divine weapon, huh? A thought suddenly occurred to Li Fan, and he looks toward his hometown. If it's her, she should be able to help him. Furthermore, General Ran and the others can't say anything about this. Li Fan extends his right hand toward the sky. Dragon Lady, if you hear my call, please help me. The nine-tailed divine fox was originally feeling quite smug and focused on recovering her power. However, her expression suddenly changes in the next second. What? She looks up to find a golden sword piercing through the air before stabbing toward Li Fan's feet. Shang Fang's sword. The sword exudes a dazzling light, and the nine-tailed divine fox is momentarily dazed. This is a sword passed down from the human era. It should be enough to deal with you. Li Fan reached out, pulled out the Shang Fang sword, and held it in his hand. I'm so scared. Don't kill me, I'm willing to be your sex slave and serve you in bed every day, master. How could I die? Something must have gone wrong. It must have. You bastards from the human realm upon heaven, you must have planned all of this. Get the fuck down here. You bastards. She seemed to be shouting at the sky, but the surroundings were extremely quiet. Other than her voice, no one else responded to her. Looks like you've gone completely insane. Li Fan shakes his head as he looks at the nine-tailed divine fox. I should sympathize with you, but you should die first. Chapter 14-17. Li Fan didn't dare to let this fox live. She had too much vengeance on her. She was powerful to begin with and wanted to destroy the world. Now, she was like a ticking time bomb, and her situation was extremely unstable. At this point, the only way to save the world was to kill this fox. Hadn't he summoned the Shang Fang sword just for this moment? Li Fan walked toward the nine-tailed divine fox. The nine-tailed divine fox lay on the ground in despair. She didn't even seem to notice when Li Fan walked toward her. In the instant that Li Fan raised the Shang Fang sword, the nine-tailed divine fox suddenly leaped up and dug her claws into Li Fan's chest. Li Fan's body was pierced through, and the nine-tailed divine fox's hand came out from his back. However, there was no blood. Have you forgotten? A smile appeared on Li Fan's face. This is my avatar. No. The nine-tailed divine fox wailed. She had forgotten about this at such an important moment. In the face of death, even the sly nine-tailed divine fox lost her composure and began to make bad moves. Don't kill me. Wah, I don't want to die. I won't let you go even if I die. Li Fan heaved a forlorn sigh at the sight of the nine-tailed divine fox. I'm sorry. He grabbed the long sword and flicked it upward. The sword instantly pierced through the nine-tailed divine fox's chest, then lifted her high into the air. This seat. The nine-tailed divine fox seemed to have regained some of her senses at this moment. I'm such a failure. I couldn't even save all of you before I died. What did you say? It's too late, the nine-tailed divine fox heaved a heavy sigh. This divine weapon has already shattered my soul. Young man, even though you've killed me, you've brought an even greater disaster to this world. What do you mean? Li Fan had a bad feeling as he looked at the nine-tailed divine fox's body slowly crumbling in the air. He hurriedly asked, wanting to get to the bottom of this matter. Be careful. The realm beyond heaven, the nine-tailed divine fox's soul power was growing weaker and weaker. If you don't explain clearly, I won't let your soul dissipate. Li Fan suddenly had an idea. He stretched out his right hand and red blood flew out of his palm. The blood suddenly enveloped the nine-tailed divine fox before forming a massive ball of blood that hovered in front of Li Fan. The blood sphere began to condense and continue to compress. Soon, it became a bead with a hard shell. It was the size of a ping-pong ball and felt cold to the touch. The blood bead fell into Li Fan's palm, and he put it into his bosom. The nine-tailed divine fox was definitely hiding an even greater secret, and he had to find out more about it. However, he had borrowed a portion of William's strength, so William's strength would probably fall by a level. He would just have to let William slowly train back up. Li Fan thought of the Parker family's ancestor's ability. He used the power of his blood to fuse with the soul of his lover to create a new body. This time, Li Fan was just taking a risk. As for whether or not he would succeed, he would have to wait until the nine-tailed divine fox's soul was fully nourished and came out of the blood bead. Li Fan withdrew his avatar and felt the life force in the blood bead at the same time. He sent his inner power into the blood bead, and the blood bead immediately gave him a joyful feeling, as if it was responding to him. Very good, it seemed that his plan had worked. The blood bead had successfully sealed the nine-tailed divine fox and saved her soul. As long as he continued to nourish her with his inner power, she would wake up again. However, this time, the nine-tailed divine fox would not be able to use any of her cultivation methods. She could only live in this world as his blood slave. The nine-tailed divine fox had killed so many people, so it was time for her to pay a price. She was already very lucky that she was still alive. Amorous, from today onwards, you'll stay by my side obediently. You'll have to tell me about the realm beyond heaven. Li Fan patted the dust off his body and looked at the hellish demon Sealing Hill. He could not help but sigh. When they arrived, there were 100 elites from various countries, 3 grandmasters from the Heavenly Dragon Temple, and 8 dragon warriors. But at this moment, only Greenleaf was still alive among the dragon warriors. He had lost a leg and would probably become a cripple in the future. The monks of the Heavenly Dragon Temple had all passed away. Their inner power acted as a quick boost for him. As for the elites of the Gods of Dusk, only a few remained. Some of them were so scared that they wet their pants. The air was filled with a foul smell. In any case, this matter has come to an end. Li Fan turned around and looked at the blushing Murong. Why don't we stay on this island and give birth to 8 or 10 children? We'll never go out again. What do you think? Screw you. Who wants to give birth to so many children for you? I'm not a pig. Murong blushed and glared at Li Fan. I can stay here with you for 2 days. But after 2 days, I'll return to the Murong villa. Alright, 2 days it is. I'll make full use of this time. Li Fan chuckled as he thought about his plan. Let's go back to the village. Hand in hand, Li Fan and Murong left the demon Sealing Hill. When they returned to the village, the atmosphere was very strange. Everyone looked at their faces and saw no gratitude. Instead, they were angry. Take your people away. Li Zheng pushed William to Li Fan. Get out of our village and never come back. My boss saved all of you. How can you have this kind of attitude? You're simply a group of ingrates. William expressed his confusion. He wanted to scold them but was stopped by Li Fan. Forget it. Let's go. Li Fan grabbed William and looked at Murong. They saw a trace of helplessness in each other's eyes. Under their hateful gazes, they left the village and came to a bamboo forest outside. Boss, they're too shameless. William sat on a rock and seemed to be a bit depressed. Why don't we wait until nightfall and let me secretly suck their blood? Nonsense. Li Fan condensed the dragon's sword and chopped the bamboo while glaring at William. These people are Chinese. How can I let you hurt them? Boss, you have a heart of Buddha. But they're too evil. No, I understand them. Li Fan ordered William to help chop the bamboo. They originally hoped that we would seal the nine-tailed divine fox so that the village could continue to enjoy the effects of longevity. However, I killed the nine-tailed divine fox and made all of these people die prematurely. That means that I've robbed them of their most precious treasures. How could they not hate me? If boss didn't do anything, they would all be dead. They're still thinking about longevity. They're too greedy. This is human nature. Li Fan seemed to be very open-minded. After surviving, they want more. Alright. Speaking of which, boss, why are you chopping bamboo? To build a cannon house. Chapter 14:18. Li Fan used bamboo to build a small house. Although it was a little crude, it was at least livable. Li Fan had just finished building the house after a lot of hard work. He was ready to enjoy the rare time with Murong. However, as soon as he finished building the house, Murong received a call from the outside world. Because the nine-tailed divine fox was eliminated, the barrier around the island was also dispersed, and the phone signal could be transmitted. What? Murong Ying's expression changed as soon as she picked up the call. Li Fan, I have to go back. Huh? Li Fan was shocked. Didn't you want to spend 2 days alone? Something happened to Murong Villa. Murong Ying's expression was abnormally ugly. I have to go back to the villa. Everything was fine. How could something happen? Li Fan subconsciously felt that something was wrong, but he endured it. His expression did not change. I don't know what happened. It was Tai Zhu who informed me. Murong Ying looked a little anxious. I have to go back quickly. Her personality was like this. She would do whatever she said. After she put down the phone, she turned and walked out of the island. Hey, I'll go out with you. Li Fan could not care about the bamboo hut that he had just built. Damn it, why did this happen so suddenly? It seemed that every time he wanted to be with Murong Ying, someone would suddenly appear and interfere. However, this matter seemed to have something to do with him. You can't help me. This is Murong Villa's matter. Murong Ying reminded Li Fan. It's our business. It's better for the other party not to interfere. Although these words were very heartless, it was the truth. The two of them had their own careers and did not want the other party to interfere too much. In terms of independence, Li Fan was very similar to Murong Ying. I won't interfere, but if you want to leave the island, you'll have to take a boat or a plane, right? Are you going to float all the way back? That's true. Do you have any ideas? Of course there is. Li Fan pointed outside. I asked Bai Lin Luo to make arrangements outside the island. He will send us back. As for the Dusk of the Gods, I don't think we'll be able to take it. Alright. Since Li Fan helped to arrange it, Murong Ying also agreed. The two of them walked out of the island and arrived at the agreed location. On the way here, Li Fan had informed them with a satellite phone, so a helicopter was quietly waiting here. Because Li Family Island didn't belong to the national establishment, it was a small island that belonged to China, so it couldn't have an armed establishment like combat helicopters. The helicopter parked on the island belonged to a transport plane. Bai Lin Luo personally sat in the co-pilot position. When he saw Li Fan, he jumped out of the helicopter excitedly and came up to give Li Fan a warm hug. Li Fan, we finally meet. Fuck, we haven't seen each other for a long time. The two of them sighed, but Murong Ying next to them frowned slightly. You two, go back and do it. I'm in a hurry. Yes, Murong Ying's matter is more important. Bai Lin Luo, let's go back to China. Okay. Let's go back. The helicopter flew all the way in the direction of the motherland. Bai Lin Luo seemed to be a little excited and a little nervous. As the saying goes, when one is close to one's home, one's feelings are afraid. Although he was separated from his motherland by a sea, because of the policy, Bai Lin Luo had never had a chance to return to his own country. Now that I'm back, you can help me with the moving. Li Fan always had work for Bai Lin Luo. I'll leave the aftermath to you. You're better at this. After all, Bai Lin Luo had helped Li Fan manage the island for so long. Moreover, it was quite impressive. This made Li Fan very happy. Well, just leave it to me. Bai Lin Luo smiled happily. With $500 million, we can be considered a small nouveau riche now. Ha, don't be corrupt. This money has to be used where it's most important. Properly decorate our Li Family Island. I always feel that forcing you to retreat to the Li Family Island this time, is actually the country's loss. Bai Lin Luo looked at Li Fan and said very seriously, moreover, I have a hunch that the nine-tailed divine fox is just the beginning. This demon island seems to have more secrets. It's as if you've become a prophet now. Li Fan couldn't help but laugh at Bai Lin Luo. You don't say, it's a bit true. Bai Lin Luo was very serious. Previously, I've been in contact with the prophet for a long time. His soul seems to have influenced me. Just like Mr. Yang before, he influenced you. Sometimes, when I sleep, I can always see some strange illusions. What illusion? I forget it when I wake up. Bai Lin Luo deliberately didn't say it. He didn't know what would happen if he told Li Fan that in those illusions, Li Fan was a person who destroyed the world with his own hands. Fuck, then you said it in vain. It's not that. At least, I heard the name of a sky beyond heaven in the illusion. Sky beyond heaven? Who did you hear it from? Bai Lin Luo pointed at Li Fan. I heard you say it to the nine-tailed divine fox. Speak normally. Don't play tricks. Li Fan rolled his eyes. I once met you in the battle with the nine-tailed divine fox. I heard her mention sky beyond heaven. But the dream was fragmented. There were only some sporadic fragments. Therefore, there was no way to predict the future. But I believe that as my spiritual power increases, my foresight of the future will also become clearer. You're no longer a summoner. You've changed to a prophet. Prophets also need bodyguards. Bai Lin Luo took out a card. Li Fan looked at it. It was a new card. Who is this girl? Her level seems to be quite high. This is a super strong card that I created using my latest ability. Bai Lin Luo held the card and said proudly, she is a Russian beauty I met on the island. Her name is Natasha. I got a good person card from her. Then, I combined all my other cards and created this Z-grade trump card. You even courted a Russian girl. Amazing, the way people play these days is wild. That's nothing. I've already slept with her. Why did you get a good person card after sleeping with her? The model doesn't match. The two looked at each other silently. Bai Lin Luo suddenly became excited. Damn, I'm a normal size. The Russian girl's capacity is too big. Yes, I believe you. But you have to work hard and win glory for the country next time. How can I win glory? I'm a summoner and a prophet. I'm not an orc. I don't know enlargement spell. You have so many mutants. Maybe one of them has the ability. Let him help you. I feel like our friendship has come to an end. The two of them teased each other on the helicopter. Suddenly, an alarm sounded in the helicopter. Something seemed to have locked onto them. Chapter 14:19. The alarm in the helicopter rang non-stop, causing Bai Lin Luo to frown. Anderson, what's the situation? Mr. Bai, it seems like the aircraft carrier below has locked onto us. Li Fan looked outside and saw that the aircraft carrier was right behind them. The fire control radar on it had locked onto the helicopter, and there were also two fighter jets flying around them as if they were escorting them. Mr. Li, please wait. From the helicopter's communicator, a somewhat old but very deep voice came. Since you're here, why are you in such a hurry to leave? Why don't you come to my ship and have a chat? I'm in a hurry to go home and have a child with my wife, can't I? Li Fan's expression slightly darkened. It was very obvious that this group of people from America had no intention of letting him go. Mr. Li, you have to consider it carefully. You've already been locked onto by our fire control radar. If you leave rashly, I'm afraid that your helicopter will be hit by us. Are you threatening me? Li Fan seemed to be laughing. A talent like Mr. Li, if you return to your country, we won't be at ease. Fortunately, your country has ostracized you. They don't appreciate your strength, but we do. Therefore, we have decided to award Mr. Li a green card of the highest level and let you become a part of our empire. In the empire, you can enjoy honor and power. These are all things that China can't give you, nor do they dare to give you. I'm not going. Why? We are the greatest city of freedom. Every year, who knows how many people from your country would break their heads to get a green card. Some even sneak over here just to live in the empire. Everyone has their own aspirations. Li Fan chuckled, some people even dream of going to other countries to be third-class people, and no one can stop them. But for me, no matter where I go, I'm still a Chinese. This is the gene that flows in my blood. Another boring patriotism. the person who was talking to Li Fan was the officer who had been monitoring Adam, Eve, Abel, and Elizabeth. He belonged to the upper echelons of the United States and belonged to a military unit secretly established by the president. He served as a general here. This general had a lot of power. His decisions usually represented the will of the American Empire. But for someone as ambitious as him, being the general of such a secret force was a torment. He wanted to be the president, the greatest president of the United States. Therefore, he needed Li Fan, and even more so, he needed something from Li Fan. Mr. Li, it's fine if you don't want to come to our country. As long as you no longer belong to Huaxia, we will not be enemies. He was just the master of a small island. He didn't have the right to affect the world, the general thought. However, we would like to make a deal with Mr. Li. What deal? We are willing to pay for Mr. Li's nine-tailed divine fox. The general finally laid out his conditions. The nine-tailed divine fox was extremely important to him. She was the source of power, the key to longevity. Oh! Li Fan sneered in his heart. These foreigners were indeed after the nine-tailed divine fox. We know that the nine-tailed divine fox is priceless. Therefore, we are willing to pay $1 billion for it. $1 billion. This amount of money was enough for a person to live extravagantly for the rest of his life. He could buy whatever he wanted, Mercedes-Benz or Ferrari. Boeing 747, heaven and earth. He could sleep with whoever he wanted, no matter if it was a celebrity or a woman. The American Empress made a price that most people couldn't refuse, but Li Fan didn't say anything. Bai Lin Luo laughed mockingly. You are quite generous. You want to buy the secret of longevity with $1 billion? Are you shameless? As Li Fan's military advisor, Bai Lin Luo was overjoyed when he received the $500 million, but now, he had to maintain the calmness and confidence of an island master. May I know your ideal price? The general was very calm. He asked slowly. You can tell me so I can consider it. How much is your annual GDP? Murong Ying's eyes narrowed when she heard this. Could it be that Li Fan wanted to sell the nine-tailed divine fox? 20 trillion. Mr. Li, you are asking for too much, the general felt bitter. Even he didn't have the right to use 20 trillion to buy the nine-tailed divine fox. Even the president couldn't do it, let alone him. The American Empire might seem to be powerful now, but it was actually weak on the inside. Otherwise, they wouldn't be working so hard to stir up the world and disrupt the development of other countries. I want the total value of your GDP for 100 years. Li Fan laughed. Don't ask about the nine-tailed divine fox if you don't have the money. Mr. Li, I am doing business with you in good faith, but you seem to be playing tricks on me. The general was a little angry. You relied on our help to subdue the nine-tailed divine fox. But now, you are burning the bridge after crossing the river and breaking the deal. You are angering the greatest country. Deal my ass. Li Fan started to curse. I worked so hard to subdue the nine-tailed divine fox. What does that have to do with you? If it wasn't for me, your people wouldn't even be able to get past the monk. Not to mention, they are all so scared in front of the nine-tailed divine fox. What did they do to help? Help me call for help. By the way, did you wash your pants? Mr. Li, don't go too far. You are still under the radar of the missiles. The general began to threaten him. I'm afraid you have no choice but to agree. Is that so? Li Fan glanced at Bai Lin Luo. Little Four Eyes, why don't you show us something? Okay, I will protect the helicopter. Bai Lin Luo nodded and took out his Z-ranked trump card. He moved his finger, and the card slowly disappeared in the air. At the same time, a beautiful silver-haired woman slowly walked out of the air above the helicopter. The clouds in the sky dispersed, and a golden light fell on the woman. She had a pair of white wings on her back. Her beauty combined with her holiness made people look up to her. She held a scepter in one hand and a shield in the other. She looked like a legendary angel of power, symbolizing power and authority. Is that an angel? Everyone on the aircraft carrier was shocked to see the woman in the sky. Bullshit, she is not an angel. The general had been in charge of the Golden Empire for so many years. He was the one who was responsible for destroying the Golden Empire. There is a mutant on the helicopter. It is a mutant's special ability. The general sensed something was wrong. He immediately ordered, "Shoot that damn helicopter down. Now!" The missiles on the aircraft carrier were all aimed at the helicopter. Then, one by one, the missiles shot into the sky and chased after the helicopter. The angel raised her scepter and began to activate her ability. Chapter 14:20. Angel Quan wields her scepter and unleashes her ability. The missiles that flew over seemed to be controlled by someone as they all flew up into the sky and shot into space in the blink of an eye. "I say, your missiles are not powerful enough." Li Fan sneered, "Come, hit us. Come, hit us." Li Fan's attitude causes the general to collapse. Does this fellow really think that the Empire is afraid of them? They only have the help of a mutant and they dare to be so arrogant. "You trash, can't you solve this problem?" The general is roaring. "General, that angel is very powerful. All of our missiles lost control and were sent into space to explode." A subordinate reports while trembling. He is a devout believer of God. Seeing this angel appear, he is already regretting his actions. But military orders are irrefutable. With the general's order, they have no choice but to comply. These missiles seem to be free as they fly up into the sky, forming a terrifying barrage. Furthermore, the airplanes in the sky are also firing, wanting to shoot down the helicopter. However, with the angel around, all the attacks were ineffective. They couldn't even touch the helicopter at all. "We must not let them leave." The general looks at the helicopter on the radar. "We must shoot them down." Yes. These soldiers can only follow the general's order. Missiles are flying everywhere, but the helicopter is swaggering through the barrage of missiles and safely heading towards the direction of the Empire. If this goes on, everything will be over. "Li Fan, if you have the ability, then keep running." The general feels that his dignity is being challenged. He roars, "You can run, but Li Family Island cannot. At that time, the Empire will send their army to crush your island. Do you think you can start a war as you wish between countries?" Li Fan curls his lips, "Don't try to coax me with these words. Hee, it is easy to find a reason. At that time, we will just say that your Li Family Island is harboring terrorists and we will send our army to suppress them. A few days ago, we even dropped a missile in another country's territory. Didn't we leave the matter unsettled? At that time, we will drop a few missiles on your Li Family Island. Let's see how long this angel of yours can resist. Even if the angels can withstand it, I'll seal off your island and make you lose your tourism industry. Let's see how you can survive then." The general was very confident. As long as there was a foundation, this Li Fan would have a weakness. If he wanted to threaten Li Fan, he would have to attack his weakness. Li Fan was silent for a while. Hee, are you admitting defeat now?" The general sensed Li Fan's silence and smiled, "As long as you complete this deal with us, we naturally won't touch your Li Family Island. On the contrary, we will support your island vigorously, making your economy stronger." I have to say, your words have struck a chord in my heart. As Li Fan spoke, he stood at the door of the helicopter and looked down at the aircraft carrier. If that's the case, then, before the general could finish, Li Fan interrupted him. "Then let's fight." As Li Fan spoke, he directly leaped down from the air. His internal energy flowed through his body and converged into his hands and feet. As he opened his arms, this energy seemed to form an invisible membrane, allowing Li Fan to glide in the air like a bat. In an instant, Li Fan slid down from the sky, passed through the rain of missiles, and landed on the aircraft carrier below. Bang! Li Fan flipped in the air and stepped on the deck of the aircraft carrier, looking at the people around him. "Oh my God, he actually jumped down. Quickly run." The people around him were scared to death. A human actually jumped down from such a high place and was fine. Li Fan, what are you trying to do? The general questioned Li Fan through the ship's loudspeaker. Could it be that you want to be the enemy of our empire? Li Fan stood on the deck, looking at the army in front of him, the corner of his mouth slightly raised. That's right, since you want to touch my Li family island, then I can only make the first move. You madman, with just you. Then I'll let you see what a madman can do. As Li Fan spoke, he extended his hand and began to quickly condense his internal energy. Very quickly, a light blue sword was held in his hand. Dragon sword. But without Murong Ying's help, the dragon sword's appearance was not particularly clear. But for Li Fan, being able to kill people was enough. Kill him. Let him know the terror of the empire. The general did not hesitate and directly gave the order. In an instant, the hundreds of soldiers around him all moved. Some of them carried machine guns, some even had Gatling guns, and all of them opened fire at Li Fan. Li Fan stood on the spot, constantly waving the dragon sword in his hand. Clang, clang, clang. Those bullets that were shot over were all deflected by Li Fan's sword. Amidst the clanking sound, golden sparks continuously sputtered in front of Li Fan. Such a terrifying scene caused the surrounding soldiers to panic. But after all, they were professional soldiers. Very quickly, they calmed down and continued to attack Li Fan. Such a terrifying rain of bullets could not even break Li Fan's sword. After seeing this, the general could not help but sigh. To be able to do this without any genetic enhancement, this person's combat power is indeed terrifying. Unfortunately, he cannot be used by me, so I can only destroy him. Let me do it. A soldier suddenly carried an RPG and fired at Li Fan. Bang! An artillery shell with a flaming tail instantly shot in front of Li Fan. Dragon Lock Divine Weapon. However, with a swing of his sword, Li Fan directly flicked the artillery shell away. With a loud bang, the artillery shell landed on the nearby command tower, blasting a large hole in the command tower. The general was standing inside, and he was badly shaken. Abel, Elizabeth. Seeing that the soldiers could not hurt Li Fan, the general was furious. He ordered two of his most capable subordinates. At the same time, a main battle tank slowly drove over and aimed its barrel at Li Fan. The power and speed of a tank's artillery was much stronger than an RPG. This was the latest M2 series main battle nuclear tank developed by the United States. The main cannon on it was a heat-grade weapon. Even if it was a building, it could directly blast through. Even the United States only had less than 100 of these tanks. This was because nuclear tanks consumed a lot of resources. Developing one required a lot of manpower and material resources. For this expedition, the aircraft carrier also carried an M2 main battle tank. Who would have thought that it would be used on this Huaxia person? Blast him into pieces. Then, collect the nine-tailed divine fox's DNA from the pieces. The general roared, and the M2 main battle tank immediately fired. Boom! A huge ball of fire soared into the sky, and even set off a small mushroom cloud on the deck, rushing into the sky. The heat wave rolled over, and the sky seemed to have turned red. The surrounding soldiers could feel the heat. Turn into ashes for me. The general's laughter echoed throughout the entire aircraft carrier. Chapter 1421. Relying on this main battle tank, the general is confident that he can blast Li Fan into pieces. When the fire slowly dissipates, a figure is standing in the middle of it. His body is wrapped in a layer of faint golden light. The general's eyes widen. He can't believe his own eyes. That Chinese man is actually standing there safe and sound. It seems like nothing happened at all. Even his clothes are undamaged. There is not a single speck of dust on them. Oh my God, is he a devil? Oh, no, how can we defeat such a person? The surrounding soldiers' courage finally begins to collapse. No one is willing to fight with such a person. They can go to war with the country and fight on the battlefield, but they can't fight with a devil. Li Fan slowly dissipates the golden light on his body. Holding his sword, he slowly says, "This tank is very powerful. It's better not to keep it. Even if it is Li Fan, after all, he is immortal. A heat cannon could also blast him into smithereens." Fortunately, Li Fan has the true dragon golden body, which can temporarily make him in a semi-invincible state. He can even resist a nuclear bomb, let alone this heat cannon. However, if it comes again, Li Fan won't be able to withstand it. In a short period of time, he won't be able to use the golden body again. Li Fan uses the dragon soaring through the 9 heavens Qinggong and instantly leaps up. Rolling up the fire on the deck, he directly leaps onto the tank. Shwa! Li Fan swings his sword and cuts off the tank's barrel. This tank's armor can't even withstand Li Fan's sword. You guys are having fun, right? It's my turn now. Li Fan's body leaves after images. Like a ghost, he rushes into the crowd in a blink of an eye. In almost an instant, Li Fan's sword has already pierced through the throats of 7 to 8 soldiers. Li Fan doesn't show any mercy. Since this group of people is on the battlefield, they naturally have the awareness of death. He brings his afterimages and wander among the crowd. Every time he passes by, he will definitely be pierced through the throat by the surrounding soldiers. Li Fan's moves were extremely fast and precise. It was as if the Grim Reaper had descended, quickly harvesting the lives of these people. Very soon, the hundreds of Imperial soldiers on the deck were all killed by Li Fan, leaving not a single one alive. There was a river of blood here. Li Fan stood on the deck, but there was not a single trace of blood on his body. He looked at the command tower above his head with an evil aura. "You're the general, right? Isn't it time to meet him? Don't even think about touching the general. Let us fight you." 2 figures suddenly jumped in front of Li Fan. One of them was clad in a white nano armor and wielded a lightning spear. The other one had a fiery red nano armor, and both of his hands were wrapped in huge combat gloves. Abel and Elizabeth stood on either side of Li Fan, glaring at him as if they were facing a formidable enemy. "Yo, the 2 of you, I just saved your lives. Are you in such a hurry to die?" Li Fan asked with a smile. "Li Fan. You, don't be too arrogant. Our American soldiers are the cream of the crop. Moreover, this is our home ground. With the 2 of us joining forces, we can definitely destroy you. Is that so?" Li Fan tilted his head and looked at the 2 of them, not expressing his opinion. Abel was actually not that arrogant, and Elizabeth was even a little afraid of Li Fan. The previous scene made the 2 of them unwilling to be enemies with Li Fan. However, military orders must be obeyed. The 2 of them could only come out and fight Li Fan. "Do you need me to use one hand?" As Li Fan spoke, he placed one hand behind his back. "You are humiliating us." Elizabeth felt a great sense of humiliation from the bottom of her heart. "Oh. Then I'll use 2 hands." Li Fan placed both of his hands behind his back and looked at the 2 of them. "Is this okay?" "Li Fan, you're going too far." Abel roared. However, Li Fan snorted. "You're the one who's going too far. Of all people to provoke, you have to provoke me? Fine, I'll destroy all of you. I'll teach you a lesson." As Li Fan spoke, his body jumped up like lightning and instantly appeared in front of Abel and Elizabeth. In a hurry, the 2 of them carried their weapons and prepared to deal with Li Fan. However, Li Fan's speed was too fast. His feet suddenly kicked out continuously, kicking each of their faces. Bang bang! The 2 of them flew out at the same time and heavily crashed into the control tower behind them, both of them embedding into the wall. "American General, is it? Go back and tell your master, if there's anything, come to me. I can settle personal grudges. But if you touch my Li family island, this is the result." As Li Fan spoke, he picked up his sword and suddenly slashed downwards. Dragon subduing sword, tornado clouds, 130% power. A huge sword chi swung out and actually forcefully split the aircraft carrier in half. The aircraft carrier was broken in the middle, and both sides sank into the sea. The general was going crazy. What kind of power was this? He actually cut the entire aircraft carrier in half with one sword strike. He had such combat power alone, who could deal with him? Remember what I said today, or else the next one to be cut down will be your empire's White House. After saying that, Li Fan stepped on his feet and used his qinggong to jump more than 10 meters high. Then, Li Fan stepped on the air again and actually used the void step. Each time he jumped higher than the last, he quickly jumped to the position of the helicopter, entered the plane, and left. The general relied on the lifeboat to survive, but the aircraft carrier battle group he brought was completely wiped out. Most of them were killed by the demons on Demon Island, but the last part of the elites were killed by Li Fan. The United States was the country with the largest number of aircraft carriers in the world. There were a total of 11 aircraft carriers, each of which was built with a lot of money and was very precious. Today, one of them was destroyed, and the other party only used one person, Li Fan. Li Family Island, the general's eyes were filled with hatred, but he did not dare to provoke the Li Family Island again. Although he had an empire behind him, the more an empire was, the more things he had to bear. He had the confidence to destroy the Li Family Island. However, as Li Fan said, if he ran to the United States to cause trouble, even the general might not be able to handle him. Moreover, he seemed to have a deep relationship with the Parker family. If the Parker family helped him, then it would really be over. I can only start with the individual, the general thought. It seemed that the people of Huaxia liked to talk in their so-called jianghu. That was good. He could use their jianghu to solve the problem. Thinking of this, the general immediately took out his satellite phone and made a call. Will they do their part? When Li Fan returned to the plane, Muronging asked worriedly. Of course not. These people are very arrogant, and they are determined to get the nine-tailed divine fox. They will definitely cause trouble for me. Li Fan smiled. Sister-in-law, don't worry. Boss is just showing off his muscles. Bai Lin Luo added, this way, the people of the United States will not dare to make a move on the Li Family Island. What do you think they will do next? Li Fan asked his inept advisor. Chapter 1422. I'm afraid the next step is to find a Chinese person to deal with you. Bai Lin Luo was worthy of being called a useless advisor. He easily guessed the general's next move. This candidate must not be worse than you, and he must have some relationship with America. I thought about it, and it should only be Jiang Feng. Bai Lin Luo suggested a candidate, and Li Fan nodded, yes, it should be him. The person who wants to kill him is me. You are not allowed to compete with me. Muronging transferred all the hatred of her father to Jiang Feng, so her hatred for Jiang Feng was naturally deep. When Jiang Feng was mentioned, Murong-Ying's expression became very ugly. Okay, I will definitely hand it over to you. Li Fan almost did not hesitate and agreed. Although it was a little unfair to Jiang Feng, as long as Murong-Ying did not hate him, Li Fan did not care about Jiang Feng's matter. Say, what happened to Murong Villa? Li Fan could not help but ask, he was a little uncertain. When I left, a few experts sneak attacked the villa. Murong-Ying did not doubt him and directly answered, the people of the villa suffered heavy casualties, and the whole family was almost exterminated. Ah. Li Fan held back his cold sweat and asked, do you know who did it? I am not sure, I only know that it was 5 top experts. Murong-Ying shook her head, however, during the fight, the token of 7 Knights Villa fell from their bodies. What? Li Fan was shocked. Don't worry, I will not be provoked by this kind of villain. Murong-Ying sneered, there is only one person in the entire Jianghu who would do this kind of thing. You mean? Jiang Feng? Yes. Murong-Ying's eyes were filled with cold murderous intent. Only that villain would hide his head and show his tail. He destroyed my villa and framed you. What a joke. Do you think that I, Murong, will fall for such a childish trick? This Jiang Feng is too vicious. Li Fan cursed fiercely. Yes. It's all thanks to him that our villa has met with this calamity. Sooner or later, I will chop off his head and offer it to the manor. The Murong villa is gone. Do you still want to go back? Despite knowing about this devastating blow, Murong Ying's expression didn't change much. I've already scattered the disciples and elites of the villa to the various branches. Murong Ying said, those who go to various places and wield great power are all people of my faction. Those who stayed in the villa were diehards who disobeyed me. Although the villa has encountered a great disaster, it has helped me get rid of these guys. Your luck is simply off the charts. Li Fan didn't know what to say. This matter was a freak combination of factors. It was really too strange. He had thought of asking Wang Xiaoran to train a few men of sacrifice to destroy the Murong villa while he and Murong Ying were on their way to the Demon Island. This way, Murong Ying wouldn't have anything to worry about and would naturally return to his side. But after seeing Murong Ying, Li Fan's heart softened and he asked Wang Xiaoran to stop the plan. Wang Xiaoran usually respected and loved him. Moreover, she was very sensible and would definitely not disobey his orders. In the end, who was the person who went to the Murong family to make a move? Could it be Jiang Feng's people? This was possible. After all, even if Wang Xiaoran led the 7 hero swordsmen to do this, they wouldn't be so stupid as to throw away the villa's token. Apart from Jiang Feng, who else would be able to do such a thing? This had nothing to do with him. Thinking about it, it was really a legend. Speaking of which, Murong Ying suddenly looked at Li Fan carefully, causing him to have goosebumps. Could it be that Murong Ying noticed something? There's one thing. Do you know? What is it? Li Fan wondered if Murong Ying had already found out and was trying to get information from him. The martial arts circle convention is about to begin. Murong Ying's words made Li Fan feel at ease. Seeing that the Martial Imperial Palace is about to appear, the martial arts circle convention this time is very important. Everyone definitely wants to elect the Martial Arts Alliance leader as soon as possible and then lead the Martial Arts Alliance to deal with the Martial Imperial Palace. That Martial Emperor is indeed quite powerful, but if you and I perform the Yin Yang Dragon and Phoenix Sword together, even Martial Emperor Liao Ju shouldn't be a match for us. That's true, but I'm just curious. Will you participate in the martial arts circle convention? Murong Ying asked what was on her mind. I'm no longer a member of the Central Plains Martial Arts Circle. I don't think I'm qualified to participate in the martial arts circle convention. Li Fan smiled as if he was mocking himself. Speaking of which, you've done a lot for the martial arts circle. You shouldn't retire. It doesn't matter. It's good to leave the Central Plains. When I return to the Li Family Island, I can worry less. Yes, the Li Family Island has been built very well now. Bai Lin Luo was also a little proud. Everything is on the right track. With the help of the Minister of Construction, Honda Sakura, the school, hospital, police station, library, and all kinds of facilities on the island have been built. Moreover, according to your request, we built the world's largest, richest, and most luxurious amusement park on the island. Not to mention other things, there's a roller coaster around the island in the amusement park. This alone is enough to attract tourists from all over the world. A roller coaster around the island? How is that possible? Murong Ying didn't believe it. Even if it can be made, the maintenance cost will be a huge sum of money, right? Ha, sister-in-law, I'm not lying. Bai Lin Luo was even more proud. This roller coaster around the city was made with the newly developed levitation technology. The maintenance cost is not high. In order to consider the psychological endurance of the public, our roller coaster is not particularly intense. It's mainly for sightseeing and play. We tried it for a period of time, and the response was good. Moreover, I also sat on it once, and I could see the whole island scenery. It's very beautiful. You set the Li Family Island as a tourist city? Murong Ying asked. Well, such a beautiful place is naturally the best as a tourist city. There are few resources on the island, and the service industry can save the economy. Moreover, it's not just tourism. We're also training mercenaries on the island. Mercenaries? Muronging was a little surprised. Li Fan actually thought of this step. Yes, use the war to pay back the money, and then use the war to train my army. Li Fan was full of confidence. I want the Li Family Island's army to be famous all over the world. I want everyone to tremble in fear at the mention of this army. Since you've already made your plan, I won't say anything. Muronging no longer spoke and began to close her eyes to rest. But in her heart, there was only one thing. If Li Fan wanted to withdraw from the underworld, perhaps it wouldn't be that easy. Chapter 1423. The Seven Knights Villa was very lively recently. This was because the villa lord, Li Fan, was going to retire in the next few days. This was indeed a big deal for the entire pugilistic world. Husband, are you really going to retire from the pugilistic world? At this moment, Chun, and Dong were brewing tea for Li Fan by a small lake in the villa. Yes. What's wrong? Chun, are you unhappy? Li Fan stretched out his hand and gently pinched the pretty maid's nose. Not really. Chun, is husband's sword maid. She will do whatever husband wants. It's just that you can't stand the loneliness and like the mortal world. Dong, ridiculed her good sister. I think the Li Family Island is not bad. It's like a paradise. We can live there and get away from the mortal world. It's good. Dong had a cold personality. She was like a little dragon girl. She was as pure as ice and as clean as jade. She was indeed different from Chun. Chun liked to be lively, but she liked to be quiet. You little girl, you dare to tease me? Chun lightly tapped Dong's forehead with her finger. The four of us are used to staying in the tower. Whether it's lively or cold, it's all gone. But husband is different. He's only in his early 20s. It's time for him to do something big. How can he live in seclusion at such a young age? Chun doesn't think it's appropriate. Don't worry. Even if I go to the Li Family Island, I won't live in seclusion. Li Fan chuckled. Watching the two girls quarrel, he found it very interesting. The two girls looked exactly the same, and they looked very charming when they quarreled. Furthermore, both of them were beautiful girls. If there was even one of them, it would already be considered a peerless beauty in the world. But now, there were four of them, and all of them were accompanying him. This was truly a blessing for his ancestors. The Li Family Island is also a good place. The scenery is beautiful, and there are many people accompanying us. When I go there, the Seven Knights Villa will be there too. I'll continue to cultivate and hone my strength. Thinking of the gap between him and the nine-tailed divine fox, Li Fan felt a little unwilling. However, he didn't find the hero's token or the so-called true immortal technique. It looked like he would have to wait until the nine-tailed divine fox woke up to find out. Husband, although that island is good, it is only a small island. How can it be compared to the vast land of Huaxia? Chun reminded Li Fan. Also, don't forget that old master has instructed you to do something. You haven't done it yet. Are you talking about challenging the four holy tower? Li Fan snorted. These four sages are avoiding their responsibilities, hiding in the pagoda and refusing to come out. Even without Miss White Tiger's instructions, I would still go and settle this debt with them. Back then, the Azure Dragon had caused trouble for him, and he reckoned that he would come again in the future. Li Fan wasn't an indecisive person. He hadn't had a chance to mess with them in the past, but now that he had taken care of everything, he had also subdued the nine-tailed divine fox. After washing his hands, he would go and have a heart-to-heart talk with those four fellows. But the four Saint Pagodas are all in China. If you leave, how will you deal with them? It's not like I can't return to Huaxia. Little girl, you really like to worry for others. Li Fan laughed and pinched Chun's nose again. When you visit the Li family island, you will fall in love with it. Li Fan introduced his Li family island. You will find it very beautiful. Yes, no matter where you go, we will not leave you. Chun said immediately. Dong, I have something to ask you. Li Fan suddenly thought of the nine-tailed divine fox, so he looked at Dong, Young master, feel free to ask. Dong, answered as she washed the tea. You are well-read and knowledgeable. Do you know of a secret technique called the true immortal technique? Dong knows a little. Dong, was indeed Li Fan's little encyclopedia. The true immortal technique is rumored to be a cultivation technique that Lu Dongbin passed on to mortals when he descended to the mortal world. But I heard that this secret technique has been lost. Only the Heaven Alliance's leader, Lu Jinchan, knows the general formula. Yes, he engraved the general formula on the hero's token, but it was taken away by the nine-tailed divine fox. So I want to ask, do you know what this mnemonic formula is? A mnemonic formula can allow one to cultivate and attain the Tao. To be honest, Li Fan did not really believe it. Dong, really doesn't know. Dong, shook her head. Li Fan was slightly disappointed. But you don't have to worry about it, young master. The true immortal technique has a total of 9 mnemonic formulas and a set of acupoints. Even if you obtain the general formula, it is only the first mnemonic formula. It can only allow you to cultivate to the first level. Although it can be considered as stepping onto the path of cultivation, it is not very useful. What do you mean? Li Fan was a little interested. Young master might not know, but if a mortal cultivates, they would have to cultivate from the 1st to the 9th level. The first level only allows one to absorb the heaven and earth yuan qi. In addition, it has the effect of increasing one's lifespan. After cultivating it, one's lifespan would be doubled. Doubled? In other words, after cultivating the first level, one can live up to 200 years old. More or less. After all, it is absorbing the heaven and earth yuan qi. Naturally, it can cleanse the bones and improve the body's functions. Oh, I understand. Li Fan suddenly realized, this mnemonic formula, other than being a path to step onto the path of cultivation, is actually a method used by martial arts experts to improve their physique. Cleanse the bones and absorb the heaven and earth yuan qi. For cultivators, these might only be the foundation. But for practicing martial arts, it was a unique advantage. My pure yang body, when I cultivate, I am much faster than ordinary people. Who knows how many people are envious of me? And if a cultivator uses a cultivator's physique to cultivate, I am afraid he would advance 100 miles in a day. No wonder that fatty Long Fangyu is so anxious to get this hero's token. It seems like he has this in mind. With this mnemonic formula, it is equivalent to quickly nurturing a group of martial arts experts. After experiencing a calamity in the martial arts world, Whistling West Wind has lost a lot of talents. That is why there is an urgent need to quickly create more talents. It can be used to create weapons and cultivate, how is it not good? Li Fan slightly frowns. If that is the case, this hero's token is probably a hot potato. Luo Xuewu has already left the villa with Yi Jian. Li Fan has no way to ask her about the hero's token. Who was the one who leaked the information about the hero's token? Previously, Yi Jian also held the hero's token, but it did not attract the covetous eyes of other sections. Later on, Long Fangyu found out. Li Fan suddenly starts to suspect, could it be that there is a spy within Yi Jian? This is very possible. With Long Fangyu's methods, it is possible for him to do such a thing. Villa Master, a Shaolin monk requests an audience. A sword guard kneels by the lake and uses his inner force to transmit his voice. Chapter 1424. The people from Shaolin are here. Li Fan was a little surprised. Although tomorrow was his golden basin washing ceremony, he didn't invite anyone from Shaolin. It could be said that Li Fan only invited some of his former friends from the escort agency. This golden basin washing ceremony was just a formality. He didn't want to make it too exaggerated. But now that he was the master of a villa, he had to do it. Some rules of Jianghu still had to be followed. If he really wanted to retire from Jianghu, he had to wash his hands and announce to the world that he would no longer interfere with Jianghu matters. No matter what, rules were rules. Since Li Fan was in Jianghu, he had to do things according to these rules. However, he didn't invite people from other sects because he was afraid of trouble. Now that Jianghu had regained its vitality, Li Fan was about to retire, so he didn't want to disturb them. They are already outside, and there are people from Wudang, Huashan, Amei, all the big sects are here. Li Fan frowned slightly. I'm just washing my hands, why do so many people want to watch? Forget it. Since they're here, treat them well. Master, you don't want to see them? No, I'm going to wash my hands tomorrow, what's the point of seeing them today? Li Fan waved his hand, since I'm going to retire from Jianghu, let's be thorough. I'm not familiar with the people from the big sects, and I don't want to know them in the future. Okay, then I'll take my leave. The sword guard retreated. Husband, won't we anger them if we do that? As Li Fan's sword servant, Chun, naturally had to remind him at the appropriate time. So be it. Li Fan didn't care. Chun, do you know what my nickname is in Jianghu? Chun, didn't say anything, she just smiled and looked at Dong, Young master's nickname is Little Overlord, and you're considered the most outstanding newcomer in Jianghu. Dong, is really knowledgeable. Young master, you flatter me. Li Fan took a sip of tea and said slowly, these 8 big sects do have some experts. Perhaps other people in the martial arts world would naturally be willing to befriend them. My husband is their benefactor. They must have taken the opportunity to come and thank you. That's even more unnecessary. Everything I do is to follow my heart. I don't want anyone to owe me anything. Li Fan suddenly remembered something. By the way, how's Murong Villa recently? The Murong Villa has been quiet recently. Although it has experienced a disaster, it doesn't seem to have been damaged fundamentally. Dong, reported. And, that's good. Li Fan nodded. Murong naturally had her own way of managing the manor. Since she was taking good care of him, there was no need for him to intervene. You two stay here with me. I plan on practicing my 9 dragons art. Hubby, haven't you already mastered the 9 dragons mantra? Chun, was a little puzzled. How can I still cultivate? The 9 dragons mantra had a total of 9 layers. Each layer corresponded to a major acupoint. Li Fan had already broken through the 9th acupoint and perfected the mantra. He could now absorb the chi of heaven and earth between breaths to quickly recover his strength. However, this was not enough for Li Fan. The 9-tailed divine fox reminded herself to be careful of the people from Sky Beyond. In that case, the people from Sky Beyond were probably stronger than her, right? What was the strongest power in this world? It should be the god level or even higher. However, for a normal person, reaching the saint level was already the limit. The reason why the 9-tailed divine fox was a god-level expert was that she had transmigrated from another dimension. To break through to the god level, how could it be done with just a few words? For Li Fan, the road ahead of him was really long. I feel that there is a threshold to break through. I want to try and see if I can break through to the next level of my 9 dragons mantra. Li Fan did not want to rely on the true immortal mantra. He only wanted to improve with his own martial arts. Who was he? The little tyrant of the current generation. Lu Jinchan had the proof of entry to the true immortal mantra back then. Why did he not cultivate it? Why did he put it in the hero's token for his descendants to learn? This meant that to this big shot, the true immortal mantra was not considered a requirement. His pride did not allow him to cultivate immortal mantras left behind by others. Lu Jinchan was probably thinking the same thing as him. Even immortals had to train step by step to reach their current level. Since they could do it, why couldn't he? In that case, he would use his own hands to break through the limits of humans. Since my husband wants to cultivate, then the 4 of us will protect you. Chun, was 100% supportive of Li Fan. Since her husband wanted to cultivate, then the four of them had to play the role of sword servants. I will go and find Xia, and Xiu, Dong, turned and left. Li Fan looked at the surrounding scenery. This man-made lake was not considered big. There was a stream around it that sent in fresh water, which made the water in the lake lively. In this lake, Li Fan also raised some koi. The red koi formed schools and swam back and forth in the lake. Chun, stood by the lake and sprinkled some bait. The fish came over to fight for food. I will try in the water. Li Fan felt that if he wanted to break through, he had to do something different. He jumped into the lake and let his whole body sink into the water. Although he could not breathe in the water, Li Fan had already cultivated to the sage tier. He could breathe in the heaven and earth yuan qi. In the water, his turtle breathing technique could also break through from 2 hours to 2 days and 2 nights. After Li Fan cultivated the mysterious ice-cold qi, he always felt that he was very close to water. Now that he was in the water, he might be able to make a breakthrough. The 4 sword servants also stood by the lake and started to protect Li Fan. Li Fan's whole body sank to the bottom of the lake. He could clearly feel the cold air around him. He started to enter the stage of inner vision. Li Fan could clearly see that all the meridians in his body had been opened. The yuan qi was like a real dragon, swimming in the meridians according to the path of cultivation. But cultivating now was only to replenish the internal energy in his dantian. It could not help him advance to the next level. In other words, Li Fan's strength had already reached the peak. If he did not cultivate a new immortal technique, he would not be able to break through. According to Dong, cultivating immortal technique was based on the 9 heavens. Cultivating the first level would allow one to break through to the first heavens. Cultivating to the 9th level would naturally allow one to break through to the 9 heavens. But Dong, only had the theory and did not have the specific method of cultivation. Naturally, she could not guide Li Fan on what the 9 heavens was. Li Fan compared his internal energy and began to ponder. He was currently soaking in the water. There was a feeling of harmony between water and milk. He did not know if babies felt this comfortable when they were in their mother's body. Under this feeling, Li Fan began to examine his meridians. Looking at the quietly flowing internal energy, Li Fan suddenly had a strange idea. Chapter 1425. Since he had cultivated his inner force, he had already reached a peak. Then, why not try cultivating in the opposite direction? Although this action was a little suicidal, Li Fan was only in his early 20s. To be able to cultivate such a martial art at such a young age, and not have the chance to advance further, to him, it was a little painful. Li Fan wanted to become stronger and continuously climb higher, so he could only seek victory in the midst of danger. He wanted to try the effect of putting himself in a dead end. And for Li Fan, being in the water was a good way to protect himself. After Li Fan cultivated the profound ice-cold qi, when he was in the water, it actually had the effect of quickly healing his body. Fight! Li Fan secretly made up his mind. There were only a few gambles in life. How would he know the result if he did not try? The more people in the past did not dare to do something, the more Li Fan had to try it. Vital energy flowed through his body abnormally smoothly. Li Fan's meridians were wide and thick like a river, allowing the vital energy to flow unimpeded and quickly complete a circulatory cycle. But this time, Li Fan made up his mind. He gritted his teeth and forcefully stopped the vital energy in his body. Just this pause caused Li Fan's heart meridian to be severely injured. His heart felt like it was being smashed by a sledgehammer, causing Li Fan to spit out a mouthful of blood. It was really terrifying. Cultivating in the opposite direction caused great harm to Li Fan, but he endured it all. He endured the pain and circulated the vital energy in his body. He followed the direction of the 9 dragons' art and started to let the vital energy flow in the opposite direction. Just this caused Li Fan to suffer greatly. When the vital energy flowed in reverse, it was like a dagger that tore through his meridians. This was an intense pain of his meridians being torn apart, causing Li Fan to almost cry out in pain. It was too painful. Fuck, if not for the surrounding waves constantly nourishing Li Fan's body and repairing his injured meridians, Li Fan would probably have been crippled. Even so, the pain did not lessen at all. It continued to torment Li Fan's body and spirit. But Li Fan relied on his amazing willpower to endure it. However, the 4 beautiful sword servants on the shore felt their hearts ache when they saw this. Li Fan's expression had already begun to distort, and the water around him had even begun to swirl, forming a small whirlpool. It was as if it wanted to magnify Li Fan's pain. What kind of martial arts is master practicing? It looks so painful. I'm so envious, Chiu couldn't help but ask. You're talking nonsense again. Dong scolded softly. Even though she was a self-disciplined person, she couldn't help but feel a little touched when she saw Li Fan's expression. Li Fan, he's trying too hard. It seems like he's cultivating his meridians in reverse. Wasn't this equivalent to crippling his own martial arts? Reverse meridian training. Xia was the most skilled among the 4 of them. She soon realized what was going on. She screamed and jumped into the lake. What are you doing? Chun reached out to stop her. I'm going down to save him. You're not allowed to go. Chun refused to let Xia go. Why? If this goes on, even if he doesn't die, he'll be crippled. This is my husband's idea, Chun said resolutely. However, Chun said resolutely, no matter what husband wants to do, Chun will help him. Since my husband wants to try cultivating his meridians in reverse, let him do it. Isn't this courting death? Xia was anxious. She had been with Li Fan for so long. Although she was still hot-tempered, she had developed some feelings for this gentle and powerful master of hers, Li Fan. At this moment, Li Fan's situation was critical. She was extremely anxious, and tears welled up in her eyes. I believe in my husband. Chun on the other hand, was calm and composed. Think about it. Has my husband ever made a mistake? Since he's doing this, he naturally has his reasons. But what if something really happens? If something really happens, we'll use the heaven reversing art. Chun said without hesitation. You're crazy. Heaven reversing art, but isn't it just a life? Chun can give it to him. Chun looked at Li Fan in the lake. If my husband needs it, Chun's life will be yours anytime. You're really infuriating. Xia stomped her feet in anger. Go and guard Mr. well. The manor has been rather chaotic these few days. The 4 of us are very important. Do not let anyone disturb Mr. This man-made lake was originally a forbidden area in the manor. Li Fan liked to meditate and cultivate here. However, if the people in the manor did not come, it was hard to say what the people outside the manor would do. Xia had no choice but to return to her position and silently guard her husband. At this moment, Li Fan had already controlled his elemental qi and forcefully circulated it in his body in reverse. After this circulation, his meridians were riddled with injuries. At the same time, his dantian had weakened. Li Fan even believed that if he continued cultivating, his dantian might explode. Should he continue cultivating? It was not too late to turn back now. Once he cultivated to the end, his meridians and dantian would be damaged to an irreversible state. It was even possible that these 2 aspects would be destroyed and Li Fan would never be able to cultivate back to the martial saint stage. A choice was placed in front of Li Fan, allowing him to choose. One was a golden path, the other was a path of no return. Li Fan gritted his teeth and stomped his feet. Damn it, continue cultivating. What's there to be afraid of if my martial arts deteriorate? At most, I'll start all over again. He ignored his internal injuries and continued to forcefully circulate his inner energy in reverse. As the number of circulations in reverse increased, Li Fan's physical condition worsened. However, he did not know why, but he seemed to vaguely hear someone talking to him. Break and rebuild, the divine art is complete. Li Fan did not know if he was hallucinating, but he continued to circulate his inner energy according to his will. The whirlpool in the lake slowly expanded. Li Fan felt as if he had completely integrated with the lake. Even those beautiful koi fish were constantly swimming around Li Fan, as if they were observing this special human. Li Fan realized that as he reversed more and more meridians, the speed at which he reversed also became faster and faster. However, at the same time, the pain was also getting stronger. Li Fan did not know how to describe the level of pain. It was said that giving birth to a child was a level 13 pain. Li Fan had never given birth before, but he felt that he was almost there. The pain made his eyes turn black and he almost fainted. If not for his strong mental power, he would have fainted long ago. Li Fan's reversed meridians had reached a terrifying level. Every meridian in his body seemed to have withered and lost its vitality. And Li Fan's body was also glowing with a greenish-white color, looking very frightening. At this moment, the remaining inner energy in his dantian seemed to want to wholeheartedly protect its master. It suddenly rushed out from his dantian and collided with this reversed inner energy. Chapter 1426. The two forces clashed within Li Fan's body, using his body as a battlefield, killing each other inside his body. Li Fan felt a sweetness in his throat as he spat out a mouthful of blood. The blood blended into the lake and dyed it red. The four beautiful sword maids were shocked to see this, and their hearts ached for him. However, at this moment, a faint white light shone from Li Fan's body, enveloping his entire body. At the same time, a black light enveloped him. The two rays of light revolved around his body, slowly forming a chaotic Tai Chi diagram. The Tai Chi diagram spun along with the lake water. However, this Tai Chi diagram spun in a straight line, and in reverse at other times. It was extremely strange. As the Tai Chi diagram spun, Chun, and the others could clearly feel the life energy in the surroundings being sucked into it, as if it was replenishing Li Fan's energy. When the Tai Chi diagram spun in reverse, life energy was released once again, causing the surroundings to be filled with vitality. The koi in the lake were suffering this pain. Their life energy was being sucked out and returned to them. However, every time they did this, they seemed to become stronger. Even the four sword maids by the lake were receiving the same treatment. Their life energy was being sucked out and returned again and again. However, the four sword maids realized that their life energy was being strengthened continuously. At the same time, this life energy was also nourishing their bodies, as if it was cleansing their bones and marrow, making them stronger. What is this thing? Xia could not help but ask. It's so comfortable. Again, Chiu looked like she was begging for a beating. Chun did not speak, but her gaze was solemn. She looked at Li Fan with even more respect. Dong on the other hand, was deep in thought. This was the first time she had seen something so strange. However, it seemed like the young master's energy was being transformed continuously. She did not know what had happened to him, but it seemed like he had obtained some sort of opportunity. Just as the Tai Chi diagram spun 81 times, and then reversed 81 times, Li Fan suddenly opened his eyes. Two bolts of lightning shot out from his eyes, causing the four beautiful attendants to tremble at the same time. Bang! Li Fan was like a swimming dragon. She leaped out of the lake and landed on the ground. But after jumping out and taking just one step, he immediately felt his legs go weak and he almost fell. Fortunately, Chun reacted quickly and stepped forward to support her husband. Husband, what's wrong with you? I'm fine. I'm just cultivating my meridians in reverse. I'm a little weak. Li Fan smiled. It was hard to tell if he was good or bad. Husband, please take a seat. Chun helped Li Fan sit on a stone bench in the courtyard. Then, she used her inner power to dry his clothes and wipe the water from his head. She then instructed Chiu who was beside her. Chiu go and get some hot soup for your husband to get rid of the cold in his body. Yes. Qiu immediately left the pavilion, while Li Fan sat on a stone bench. His body exuded a special aura. Young master, have you mastered it? Dong was also a little curious. She walked forward and asked gently. I'm not sure either, but my dantian has already been shattered. Li Fan laughed bitterly. What? Xia's face paled as she exclaimed, then won't your martial arts be crippled? How could he cultivate if his dantian was shattered? My dantian is indeed shattered, but somehow, I managed to cultivate this thing. As Li Fan spoke, he placed his hands in front of him and began to circulate his martial arts. Then, a Tai Chi diagram slowly appeared behind Li Fan and began to rotate. In my body, my dantian is gone. This Tai Chi diagram replaces my dantian and rotates in my body, sending my inner power into my meridians every day. From today onwards, the Tai Chi diagram in my body will start to circulate. For 81 days, the Tai Chi diagram will rotate, and my martial arts will continue to increase. However, after 81 days, my inner power will reverse, and my entire body will start to deteriorate. On that day, I will be extremely weak and will need protection. This is really an amazing martial art, the beauties looked at each other. This was the first time they had heard of such a martial art. Is this considered immortal cultivation? Li Fan asked excitedly. Although he would be weakened once every 3 months, the shackles in his body would be broken, and he could use this martial art to continuously strengthen himself. As long as he could ensure his own safety on that day, everything would be fine. After that day, he would undergo a metamorphosis, and his strength would increase by 1/10. Although it was only 1/10, his strength would continue to grow, and every 1/10 would be different. In a few years, or even a few decades, he would definitely be able to reach the immortal realm. I heard that immortal cultivators cultivate an inner core. In the end, the inner core will turn into a nascent soul, and the nascent soul will turn into a golden body. Dong shook her head and said, however, young master has cultivated a Tai Chi diagram. In my opinion, it is still your dantian, but you have materialized your dantian. From now on, your dantian will no longer restrict your progress. Like you, it will continue to evolve as you improve. So that's how it is. Looks like I am still a martial artist, and not an immortal cultivator. Li Fan laughed heartily and was rather open-minded, but so what? There are thousands of Daos, and when did I enter the Dao through martial arts? His boldness caused the hearts of the beautiful sword attendants to race like a galloping horse. With that, Li Fan's expression turned serious. I suffered some internal injuries while cultivating today, and tomorrow will be my weakest moment. Only after tomorrow will I be able to grow my strength back. I will have to rely on the few of you to protect me for these 2 days. Don't worry, husband. The few of us swear to protect you with our lives. While Chun was speaking, Qiu had already brought over the freshly brewed ginseng soup. Chun helped Li Fan drink some. This ginseng was fed by Luo Xiaofeng using elixirs, and it was more nourishing. After drinking a little, Li Fan felt that his dantian had become much warmer. Chun thank you. Li Fan was very grateful. He subconsciously grabbed Chun's wrist. Who would have thought that the inner strength in Chun's body would be absorbed by Li Fan the moment he placed his hand on her wrist? Chun's body stiffened, but she did not resist. If her husband needed her strength, she was willing to give it to him. Li Fan was a little shocked. He had no intention of taking away Chun's strength. It seemed like the Tai Chi diagram in his body had given him a passive buff. How was he going to have sex with women in this state? However, with a thought, the Tai Chi diagram reversed and sent the inner strength back into Chun's body. Furthermore, the power that was returned was even purer than before. Chun smiled widely, and could not help but tease her husband. Husband, you've become a human-shaped furnace now. Chapter 1427. Li Fan did not know whether to laugh or cry. What the hell was a human-shaped cauldron? However, his current situation was not too far off either. He could actually absorb the opponent's inner force and refine it in his body before sending it back. Right now, he was simply a cultivation treasure for martial practitioners. As long as he was in his hands, he would definitely be able to cultivate a pure inner force. Anyway, I hope that I can get through today peacefully. Li Fan sat on the stone bench. I want to continue cultivating and heal my injuries first. As he spoke, Li Fan walked towards the man-made lake. Husband, your body is unwell. It's not good to cultivate in a shady place, right? Chun advised. Young master cultivates a soft inner force. It's best to cultivate in such a cold place. Dong reminded Chun Let young master continue cultivating. We'll just guard him. You're right. I was foolish. Chun nodded and spread out with the beautiful sword attendants to guard Li Fan. Li Fan soaked himself in the lake again and began to cultivate. He could not recover his inner force today and could only heal his internal injuries first. After going through a reversal of meridians, Li Fan had profited from a disaster. As the saying went, there can be no construction without destruction. His meridians were severely damaged, but they became much stronger under the refinement of his life force. Li Fan named his cultivation method 9 Dragon's Art, Yin-Yang Reversal. However, cultivating the yin-yang technique in reverse was extremely dangerous. One wrong step could lead to eternal damnation. If Li Fan didn't rely on the surrounding lake water that matched with his feminine inner force, as well as the inner force provided by the 4 powerful female sword attendants, he was afraid that he wouldn't have the slightest effect even if he practiced randomly. Instead, he would have destroyed the cultivation that he had painstakingly cultivated. Ba. Elder Xia, why don't I see Villa Master Li today? At this moment, a Shaolin monk asked Xia Ho in the main hall of the 7 Heroes Villa. As the welcoming elder, Xia Ho was extremely busy as Li Fan did not come out. Inside and outside the villa, there was an endless stream of guests. Because they were all martial artists, and they were here to participate in Li Fan's washing of hands in the Golden Basin Assembly, it was not appropriate for the villa to decline. The world of martial arts had returned to how it was in the past, and the 6 great sects had even gathered at the 7 Knights Villa. Wudong, Shaolin, Amei, Qingcheng, Kunlun, and Kongtong. Jin Yong's novels always liked to use history to recreate, and his most famous was The Deer and the Cauldron. The sects in his novel also existed in reality. This was the case for the 6 great sects, especially Wudong and Shaolin, which were famous all over the world because of Jin Yong's novels. However, in the past 2 years, Shaolin had been paying more and more attention to its brand. It even banned the word Shaolin from Jin Yong's TV series, which made people speechless. But people in the martial arts world knew that Shaolin had always been divided into the inner temple and the outer temple. The abbot of the outer temple was Shi Yong Xian. It was extremely commercialized and the outer temple was run like a big company. However, the monks of the inner temple were different. Under the support of the outer temple, the monks of the Shaolin inner temple trained hard in martial arts and carried forward Patriarch Bodhidharma's Kung Fu. The person who spoke was none other than the abbot of the Shaolin inner temple, Master Yusu. The old monk had the cultivation of a grandmaster and was said to be in the process of breaking through to half-saint. He had traveled thousands of miles from Hunan's Mount Song to come here. First, he wanted to express his gratitude to Li Fan. Second, he wanted to ask him for advice on martial arts. Shaolin cultivated Buddhist Kung Fu and both Buddhism and martial arts. The old monk had some attainments in Buddhism, but he had not made any progress in martial arts for a long time. That was why he was anxious. Everyone in the martial arts world knew that the abbot of Shaolin Temple, Master Yusu, was a martial arts fanatic. Master, please forgive us. Our master is still in seclusion today and will only come out tomorrow. Xia Ho hurriedly said to Master Yusu. Seclusion? He will retire tomorrow. Why is he still in seclusion today? Long Bailey, the sect leader of the Kongtong sect, was quite displeased. We came all the way here to find him, but he is hiding. What's the meaning of this? I'm sorry. Our master is in seclusion. Xia Ho was quick-witted and had already thought of an excuse. Our master suffered some internal injuries in the battle on the island not long ago. He has been recuperating in seclusion for the past few days. Ba. Master Li is doing his best for the common people. Master Yusu of Shaolin Temple could not help but sigh. Yes, Master Li has a good temper. I admire him very much. Wu Jizi, the sect leader of the Wudang sect, sat next to him and stroked his beard in agreement. Even so, it's not good to leave us here, is it? Yu Ruoying, the sect leader of Ame, was also a heroine and a hero of the martial arts world. Her temper was not very good. After all, she was in charge of a group of female disciples. If she was too good-tempered, she would not be able to control these girls. Ame's sect was not a nunnery, and Yu Ruoying was not a nun. Although she was in her 40s, it was not difficult to tell that she was a beauty in the past. Yes, isn't this too impolite to us? Wang Zheni, the sect leader of the Qingqing sect, was not tall and had a fiery temper. He shouted in Sichuan dialect, "We are the sect leaders of the 6 great sects, but Master Li is avoiding us. Is he looking down on us?" Sect leader Wang, you misunderstood. Our master is indeed recuperating in seclusion. Please forgive him. Xia Ho did not want to offend the people of the 6 great sects, mainly because Li Fan was about to retire from the martial arts world. She did not want to cause trouble for her junior brother. Sect leader Wang is right. Long Bailey, the sect leader of the Kongtong sect, slapped his thigh. Where is your master in seclusion? I want to see what kind of person he is. Long Bailey was about to stand up and rush out with anger. Wang Zheni kept egging him on. Yes, 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 let's go and see. Master Li's martial arts are not bad, but he is too arrogant. Today, I want to ask him for advice on the rules of the martial arts world. The 2 sect leaders held hands and were about to go out. Xia Ho was a little angry. These guys clearly got their martial arts back because of their junior brother, but now they want to ask him for advice on the rules of the martial arts world. What a joke. In the past, I heard that the sect leaders of the 6 great sects are all shameless. I didn't believe it before, but now that I see it, it is indeed so. At this moment, a figure blocked in front of them. It was a jade-faced man. He looked young, and there was a hint of evil charm between his eyebrows. Xia Ho slightly frowned. Lu Zhu, why is he here? Although he had disguised himself a little, it wouldn't be good if he was recognized. Who do you think you are? Get lost! Long Bailey roared. His voice was filled with true qi, wanting to scare away the fair-faced young man in front of him. Unexpectedly, the young man did not care. Instead, he picked up a fan and waved it in front of him. Me? I am just a nobody, but I have admired Master Li for a long time. Chapter 1428. I heard that Villa Master Li retired from Jianghu in order to abolish the ban on martial arts, and even moved the 7 Knights Villa out of Huaxia. In the end, not only did the sect leaders not appreciate it, but they even went to cause trouble while the Villa Master was injured. What are you guys thinking? Do you want to take the Villa Master's life while he is recuperating? Don't talk nonsense, kid. I don't have such thoughts. Qingqing sect leader Wang Zhen rolled his eyes and refused to admit it. Do I need you to tell me what I want to do? Long Bailey had a bad temper. He directly stretched out his hand and slapped Lu Zhu's shoulder. Slap! A handsome man walked out from the side. He stretched out his hand and grabbed Long Bailey's wrist. At the same time, the true qi that erupted from Long Bailey's hand flowed through his body and into the ground under his feet. Crack! A crack appeared on the floor beneath his feet. Yen Kai. Long Bailey was a little surprised to see that the handsome man had easily dissolved his palm energy. You are a Wu-Tang abandoned disciple and a stray dog. How dare you act presumptuously in front of me? I heard that your blazing sun palm is extremely young and is one of the best in the world. Seeing it today, it is only so-so. Who was Yan Kai? In the entire villa, there was no one more arrogant than him. Long Bailey had indeed chosen the wrong target to humiliate him. Once Yan Kai started mocking people, it was like a nuclear bomb. In the past, Guan Wenbao had suffered a lot. Today, it was someone else's turn. Bastard, say that again. Long Bailey raised his eyebrows and glared fiercely at Yan Kai. You are just a Wu-Tang abandoned disciple. How dare you talk to me like this? Yeah, I didn't expect that you are even worse than a Wu-Tang abandoned disciple. Yan Kai laughed loudly. Even a good-for-nothing should have a limit, sect leader Long. You are courting death. Long Bailey raised his palm again. There was even a golden red glow on his palm. The most famous martial arts of the Kongtong sect was the blazing sun palm. Combined with the pure yang internal energy of the Kongtong sect, the palm could become as strong as a diamond. It was extremely powerful and could break gold and jade. In the martial arts world, inner strength was divided into yang and yin. For example, the Kongtong sect had two types of internal energy. One was the elementary internal energy technique, blazing sun technique, and the other was the advanced internal energy technique, extreme yang illuminating technique. Both were pure yang techniques. This kind of yang-type inner force was strong in terms of explosiveness. Once it erupted, it would be like a volcano. As for the martial arts that Li Fan practiced, the Seven Heroes force from the beginning was an inner force of extreme yang. But later on, the Nine Dragons art started to lean towards the yin side because of the profound ice-cold qi. In addition, Mount Amay's beginner-level internal energy technique, Jade Flower technique, and high-grade internal energy technique, Nine-Leaf Lotus technique, were both classified as yin-type internal energy techniques. The advantage of yin attribute inner force was that it could last for a long time. Although it was not explosive enough and its power was not as strong as yang attribute inner force, it had a continuous and endless after effect. It was suitable for tangled and prolonged battles. Long Bailey's blazing sun palm was a masculine palm technique that complemented pure yang martial arts. He could unleash 120% of his full power. On the other hand, Yan Kai practiced Wudong's advanced internal energy technique, the Tai Chi divine skill. There were so many internal energy techniques in the world, but the Tai Chi divine skill was different. This inner force technique had both yang and yin attributes. It had a continuous after effect and an explosive effect. But when practicing this inner force technique, it still depended on the person and the attribute. For example, Yan Kai's personality was more feminine, so he cultivated the yin taiji. Back then, a junior brother of his from the same sect cultivated the firm and fierce yang taiji. Long Bailey circulated his inner force to 70%, preparing to teach Yan Kai a lesson. But at this moment, a loud and clear voice came from behind him. Amateus Buddha. Long Bailey forcefully retracted the palm that he was about to strike out. Wu Jizi, this person has already been expelled from the Wu-Tang sect by you. Are you still going to stand up for him? Long Bailey turned around and looked at the Wu-Tang sect leader, who had followed him out, and asked. Long Bailey, haven't you noticed? Yan Kai's strength is not much different from yours. However, Wu Jizi's expression was calm. He had a gentle personality to begin with. Back then, it was not his idea to expel Yan Kai from the sect, but the law enforcement hall's idea. But after Yan Kai left the sect, although he had become a peerless expert, Wu Jizi did not regret it. This was his personality, gentle and calm. However, the junior brother beside him didn't think that way. Wu Yangzi held the position of the law enforcement elder in the Wu-Tang sect. He walked out of the door with his hands hidden in his sleeves, stood beside Wu Jizi, and said sarcastically. Senior brother sect leader, you can't say that. Isn't this boosting the morale of others and diminishing our own prestige? How could a traitorous disciple like Yan Kai cultivate any profound martial arts? Since sect leader Long is willing to help us clean up the sect, we should help him. Sect leader Long, this traitorous disciple has left the sect, and he is still practicing our Wu-Tang sect's Tai Chi divine technique. He is tarnishing our Wu-Tang sect's reputation. This is too much. Taoist Wu Yangzi is still reasonable. Long Bailey laughed when he heard that. This kid is practicing the Yin Taiji, sect leader Long, Wu Yangzi continued, but his left hand's martial arts are not practiced to perfection. You just need to attack his left hand. Ha! Yan Kai could not help but laugh when he heard that. What a good law enforcement elder of Wu-Tang. If you want to fight, do it yourself. Why do you have to persuade sect leader Long? Although sect leader Long is a bit brainless, I can't bear to see him being used by you like this. A fool is so pitiful, isn't it? Bastard! You're courting death. Long Bailey was furious when he heard that Wu Yangzi was scolding him. An abandoned disciple of Wu-Tang dared to be so presumptuous in the Seven Chivalry Mountain Villa. It seemed that a protector was already like this. It seemed that the villa master was also like this. Today, I will let this group of people know that the martial arts world belongs to the 6 major sects. If it was not for the government's ban on martial arts, how could they have allowed the 7 Chivalry Mountain Villa to appear? Let me teach you a lesson on behalf of Wu-Tang. Long Bailey said. This time, he did not hold back. He directly used the scorching sun palm sunlight illumination and pressed it on Yan Kai's chest. Good timing. Yan Kai laughed heartily and allowed Long Bailey's palm to land on his chest. Long Bailey's scorching sun palm was invincible and indestructible. Even if it was a stone tablet, it would be smashed into pieces by his palm. If a person's chest was hit by his scorching sun palm, their sternum would also be smashed and their internal organs would be infected. However, at this moment, when his palm hit Yan Kai's chest, it was as if he had hit cotton. Yan Kai stood there unscathed, but the ground beneath his feet cracked even more severely. What? Long Bailey was shocked. This abandoned disciple of Wu-Tang had actually practiced the Tai Chi Divine Technique to such a level. The Tai Chi Divine Technique was originally a Taoist martial art, but Yan Kai had actually practiced it to such a level. Chapter 1429. Immeasurable Deity. Even the calm Wu Jizi could not help but call out his Taoist name when he saw this scene. Even if it was him, he probably wouldn't be able to do it so perfectly. Yan Kai was indeed talented in martial arts. Unfortunately, he was lacking in Taoist techniques. If he could study Taoist techniques properly, he would definitely become a great person in the future. Sigh, what a pity, what a pity. Wu Jizi was worried about Yan Kai's personal situation, not for the sake of Wudong, nor was he jealous of Yan Kai's growth. This was not something an ordinary person could do. Kid, your martial arts are not bad, but you are still not my opponent. Long Bailey felt embarrassed. He did not expect that an abandoned disciple of Wudong would have such a high level of martial arts. Sect leader Long, show me what you are not capable of. If this Taoist is afraid of you, then my surname is not Yen. Yan Kai did not put Long Bailey in his eyes at all. His gaze fell on Lu Zhu, and a trace of cunning flashed in his eyes. Little brother, this Taoist admires you. You are so young, but you are very brave. You dare to fight against evil forces. Not bad, not bad. With one sentence, he classified Long Bailey and the others as evil forces. Keep your mouth to yourself. Wu Yangzi hid his hands in his sleeves and stood at the side. He said in a strange tone, You evil disciple, if you do not restrain yourself, sooner or later, you will die miserably. This Taoist can do whatever he wants. What does it have to do with you? Are you my illegitimate son from many years ago? Yan Kai's mouth was indeed unkind, making Wu Yangzi angry. However, in front of so many people, he could not flare up. After all, he was a famous senior. He could not be like Long Bailey, who was shameless and attacked a junior. Everyone, calm down. Xia Ho also walked out and comforted everyone. Tomorrow is the day our manor lord retires. If you have any grievances in the Jianghu, please tell our manor lord tomorrow. However, the villa master is recuperating in seclusion today. I hope that everyone will give face to our 7 Knights villa and make an exception. Everyone is from the same sect in the martial arts world. Since you have come today, our villa master will naturally treat you with courtesy. However, if you don't speak plainly and continue to be overbearing, then don't think that my 7 chivalry villa is a pushover. As she spoke, Xia Yi waved her hand, and a row of 7 hero sword guards suddenly appeared on the roof to the side. Every single one of them had sharp gazes, and they held swords in their hands as they glared at the crowd below. Seeing this scene, even Long Bailey couldn't help but swallow his saliva. The 7 Knights Villa actually had so many experts. He seemed to have underestimated the 7 Knights Villa. What? Is the 7 Chivalry Villa going to make a move against us? Wang Zhini rolled his eyes and said. No. Xia Ho's voice was a little more forceful. As I said, if you are guests, my villa will naturally treat you with courtesy. But when it comes to troublemakers, our villa is never polite. That's right. At this moment, a peerlessly beautiful woman in a white robe floated down before the crowd like a fairy descending from the heavens. Undying Evil Buddha. Heavens, this woman is really in the 7 Chivalry Villa. As soon as Imperial concubine Zhou appeared, although she was incomparably beautiful, her body exuded an invisible majesty that covered the surroundings, making people like Long Bailey not dare to have any thoughts of resisting. Although my 7 Chivalry Villa is withdrawing from the pugilistic world, we are not afraid of anyone. Imperial concubine Zhou stood there. Although her voice was soft, no one dared to refute. Xia Ho, when Li Fan is in seclusion, this concubine will do her best to assist you. Imperial concubine Zhou slowly said, if anyone doesn't want to cause trouble, just kill them. Yes. Xia Yi nodded. Long Bailey wanted to say something, but he swallowed his words. Who was Imperial concubine Zhou? Undying Evil Buddha. The great devil from hundreds of years ago. It was said that her strength had already reached the divine realm. Just the martial arts she created had benefited Lu Jinchan a lot. Now, people in the pugilistic world were scrambling for her. Let's not talk about meeting Villa Master Li. Yu Ruoying suddenly took 2 steps forward and said, I heard that your sect has a set of fast sword technique called 12 Dragon Subduing Swords. Many people claim that this sword technique is the #1 sword technique in the pugilistic world. I would like to ask for advice. Imperial concubine Zhou, can this junior have this honor? Yu Ruoying was straightforward, without any concealment. Seeing that she was a woman, Imperial concubine Zhou had a good impression of her. In addition, Yu Ruoying was polite to her, so she became a bit gentler. I heard that Amei's Cold Snow Plum Blossom sword is very powerful. It is the #1 sword technique. My family's Li Fan's 12 Dragon Subduing Swords is a one-handed fast sword technique, while your sect is a two-handed sword technique. They cannot be compared. The Cold Snow Plum Blossom sword was created by the 2nd generation Amei sect leader, and then passed down by the Amei disciples. Although it is a two-handed sword technique, it is also a sword technique. Since the 7 Chivalry Villa has a better sword technique, I naturally want to ask for advice. Alright. Imperial concubine Zhou did not refuse. She had always admired people who directly challenged others. But with this concubine's identity, it is not convenient for me to attack you. You are also a sect leader, so you should not casually challenge others. How about this, you send one of your best disciples to challenge one of my disciples? What do you think? This is naturally very good. Yu Ruoying was very happy. She glanced at the female disciple beside her. This female disciple was only 18 or 19 years old. She looked very young, delicate, and cute. She had black hair and bright eyes. Although she obediently stood beside the sect leader, her pitch-black eyes were secretly looking around. She was full of curiosity about everything. She wore a light pink dress that only Amei sect's inner disciple wore. Her long black hair was tied into a braid that hung down to her buttocks. On her back were 2 Amei treasured swords. These 2 swords were named Clear Wind and Bright Moon. They were the swords of the Amei sect's sect leader, Yu Ruoying. This female disciple was her last disciple. She was very fond of her and even passed these 2 swords to her. Your sword technique has improved today. You have also comprehended 70 to 80% of the Cold Snow Plum Blossom sword. Why don't you ask for advice from the 7 Chivalry Villas senior and junior brothers? Ah, master. I can do it. When this female disciple from a May sect heard her master call her, she was instantly shocked. Her large black eyes widened, and her eyelashes fluttered. She seemed to be in slight disbelief. Senior Zhou, this is Junior's last disciple, Wang Yu. Her qi is not good, but her martial arts are still passable. She is a good material. Imperial concubine Zhou looked at Wang Yu and nodded in gratification. If she is properly taught, her future will be limitless. Why aren't you thanking Senior? Yu Ruoying turned her head around and glared at her little disciple. Thank you, Senior. Wang Yu timidly bowed to Imperial concubine Zhou, but her eyes were secretly glancing at Imperial concubine Zhou's appearance. This big sister is really beautiful.